Well, good evening.
Good evening. Snowing.
Snowing hard.
Not snowing hard here, but snowing hard 10 miles west.
Well, I was tickling the ground here.
So it's coming.
We're going to get, what are we going to get? 8 inches tonight?
Oh, it's supposed to
I think,
snow
yeah,
a lot.
so like 10 to 20 centimeters. That's going to be 8 inches, 4 to 8 inches.
Yeah,
Maybe the weatherman should be like, run the hell off. Like, how can you not tell the difference? 4 to 8 inches. Like, that's a big, that's a big range.
Well,
like,
yeah, for me it is. I don't.
That's the difference between metric and imperial, right?
I don't understand it either. I mean, we've hammered that quite a bit on our YouTube channels and TikToks and stuff. Well,
Yeah.
like, what a weird occupation. Like, zero accountability to being totally wrong.
That's right.
You know,
What
they
does it matter?
don't even come out the next day and be like, "Yeah, we fumbled that pretty good." They just, you know what? People think the weather isn't predictable. I say it is.
Yeah.
Those old Josh
Whatever.
Clausen. What a nightmare that
Professional
guy.
joker,
Oh
right?
God, I don't think it's. I it's probably hard. Like I think it probably is hard to predict.
Yeah. you think?
But
what are you getting there on the TikTok?
I'm getting lost connection.
Lost connection. Oh, and then you got to restart it. Right?
No, I can just see the red line.
Oh,
It
that's
might
a
not
tough
even.
one. I guess if the folks are tuned in on TikTok, they're gonna get it.
Oh yeah, is it sideways? If anybody's on
Sideways.
TikTok, is it sideways? And if it's sideways, can you just turn your phone and then it'll be straight?
Will it be normal if you just turn your phone?
Or is it just a nightmare all around?
Yeah,
It keeps cutting in and out anyways. I can see it going from green to red to.
it's kind of tough in the shop, right?
Well, like the last time we did it, I think it worked out right.
Yeah, but snowing, right? You know,
Oh, it is
so-
snowing. But I talked to the internet guy, and he said the snow actually helps the
Really?
signal bounce off the snowflakes.
Bring it on then.
So, right? He said,
I don't know.
He said,
I'm gonna call bullshit on
no,
that
he
one.
really did. I phoned the GP or what, ExploreNet or whatever. I was like, man, I can see the tower,
Yeah.
and there's like a little bit of rain. All rain stops it. And I was like, well, I said one night it was snowing so hard you couldn't see out the window. Oh, that helps it because it actually reflects off the snowflakes.
Well, I think that probably depends on what type of connection you have. Because we have like a line of sight from our house from the dish to Saskatoon Mountain, and anytime there's a blizzard, we're reading a book because there's no internet.
Well, there's usually it's usually just shit anyways.
Well, yeah, rural internet is garbage.
But,
pretty much, just any day of the week, right? So,
It's something else. All right.
oh well. We are live, right, on YouTube as well. Hopefully, yeah, we got three folks on, so that's good.
I'm gonna grab this and change it quick here
You're gonna
because
do
this
the old
is
switcheroo.
it's when it goes red, you just have no. Oops. You have. I'm gonna close it and then start it over.
just got no connectivity.
Mic mode standard. I don't know what that means.
Standard.
Unstable. There's 19 people here, but connection is just terrible. What if we put it a little bit straighter? I'll put it straighter and we'll see.
See if we can make some magic happen that way.
Yeah, we'll just go for a try here.
God damn, it's hot in here tonight, eh?
It's warm too. I see. You've upgraded the heating for the.
I remember last winter. Last winter we were in here right when we first kicked all this shenanigans off, and it was some cold some of them nights, eh? Like,
It was.
yeah, wearing like a sweater and a coat. So then the last live stream we did, I thought, oh boy, we better get something figured out. So I brought the old propane superheater up here, but now it's just cooking. So might have to go down to the old t-shirt.
TikTok might not work because it is snowing. If it doesn't work, there's 20 people on there or something. Go over to YouTube.
Yeah.
Look for Smoke and Oak on YouTube, and that's I think streaming very well.
Yeah, that's what
Right
right
now,
going
so-
to happen.
We'll leave this up there. What
Looks
is
like,
it? Lost connection again.
Tamborora station's on, said YouTube looks good, no buffering. So that's, yeah, if you're struggling with the TikTok side of things, swing over to our YouTube channel, Smoke and Oak. That's where the magic's going to happen. So
Absolutely.
what are we talking about tonight?
Tonight so it's getting overwhelmed. Overwhelmed anywhere, but overwhelmed on the
Yeah.
farm,
Yeah,
overwhelmed in life. Finding out if you're actually working hard or hardly working.
very relevant topic. eh?
So there's
I tell you, well, and then when you said, do you have any ideas for this? And that phrase just came to mind, working hard or hardly working. It's kind of like that, you know, you see somebody in the washroom and they say, "Oh, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm just living the dream," right?
Yeah.
That's that kind of phrase. I don't know what you got going on there, but
This is a nightmare.
the TikTok's going for a plane crash
We had
right
this. We had this way different before.
now. We need to get like a clamp or
I
something.
need to
for
get
sitting,
something different, but
There
it's
you go. You got it.
it's not even connected anyways. So when it connects in and out, we'll just have to. Hopefully, people can gravitate towards
Yeah.
YouTube where the connection's a little bit better.
Perfect. Oh, looks like Martine's on too. So that's
Awesome,
our
awesome.
winner back-to-back chicken dinners. Hey?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I
Martine
didn't
got
even.
the sweater, and then looks like Kent got a cup. So next time he swings through, he'll have to stop in again, get a prize. So,
What he elected for, the coffee cup or the whiskey
well,
cup?
I don't know. I think whatever I don't know what he wants actually.
Just
What do you
whatever.
want? Let us know.
Whatever you can get your hands on.
We can make something happen.
That's totally gone right
Yeah.
out. It's totally gone.
TikTok's toast. That's
TikTok's no good. We'll leave it. We'll just leave it here a little bit, and then
fine. See what happens.
if it stays,
Yeah.
it ain't gonna stay.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. Last couple weeks for me have just been like hair straight back. I probably put on an oil change and a half in kilometers.
Oh,
in
wow.
short time. And still trying to manage the farm. Of course, it's like late fall, so bringing all the animals in.
Yeah.
You know, looking at getting shots, getting feed all rigged up. Got to get the water figured out because suddenly garden hose isn't an option anymore. It's not even pack water unless you have heated water systems, and just like
Yeah.
rigging up lambs to go to butcher and trying to get all the customers that talk to us in, you know, you get some folk, well, in April or whatever. They're like, "Oh, do you have lamb to sell?" Yeah, but I mean, it's like 15 pounds. So,
Mhm.
you know, it'd be a tender little morsel, but I think you want a few more bites, right?
Be a meal at best.
Yeah, would be a little bit unethical, right? So we always make them wait till, you know, late October, mid November ish, kind of just whenever they kind of ring the bell for the weight, right? But yeah, then it's always a chore to hunt those people down, right? So
Interesting. Yeah, that whole
yeah,
farm direct buying local. There's more than just go out and get yourself 5 or 6 animals
there's
and
more
then
to it, right?
buy a
So,
big bag to put the money in.
yeah.
Right? That's not a 2-step program.
Well, you need a big bag to put your money in so that you can have something to carry around and give it to other people, right? So
Absolutely. But yeah, it's amazing this time of year, like, you know, especially on the farm, how much work there is to do that doesn't advance your operation at all.
no, that's right.
It's just the, you know, prepping for the big freeze coming.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
Run around.
You're exhausted by the end of the day, and you look around and you've done. I mean, there's no new tin, there's no new paint, there's no new, everything is just shifted.
That's right.
You know, this tractor from here to there,
You've moved
And-
everything around, yeah.
picking up little boards and planks and hoses and fence, and oh my lord, it's just a lot.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you think for the amount of effort that you expend, you should have some yield for that effort, right?
Absolutely.
And you do, but it's just unrealized. It's intangible yield, right? Because it's not a frozen line or a tractor that won't start or
Mm-hmm.
you know, something's broken or whatever because you did put it away and you took care of it. But you know, for that 3-4 weeks or whatever it is when you're in that transitional period, it can definitely be overwhelming, right? So
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
So that's topic.
that's a topic. I see we got some pretty sweet cigars here.
So we had a bit of a toss-up here on what we were going to smoke. We were going to originally smoke a La Gloria cigar.
Well,
I think we must have had those before because the band looked nice.
The
It looked like I'd
La
seen it.
Gloria Cubana was the guy that he came with a suitcase full of. There was 2 cases, right? That came in the Trinidad case.
Okay.
You know, it was,
Oh, okay.
Mislabeled?
It was mislabeled.
and then there was the Monte Cristo number 2s as
Okay.
well, right?
Well, I had done a little bit of a synopsis on that cigar, and I printed it off. It's on the page I didn't bring. So
shit happens.
one that I had done before, and it's amazing. So I was talking to Stan yesterday or whatever, and I was like, "Well, what's even in there?" You lose track pretty quick of what's even in here.
Yeah, when you realize, and you start like sifting through, and you're like, oh my god, and there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and
all sorts. Like we did buy a box of Monte Cristo that had 24 in it.
yeah,
So-
like that's the full bottom layers.
and
Monte
there was 6 in that other box. So we have some duplicates, but most of them are just right. We buy 2 at a time,
two at
or
a
just
time.
whatever.
Yeah,
So I don't even know where these come from. I don't know who
I
picked
think
these up
you-
or where they got these, but they were in my notes.
I think you must have picked these up.
So these are a Dominion Kingpin, and Stan and I were just talking before this. We don't really understand what boutique brand is, but the Dominion Kingpin cigar and the Dominion Cigar Company is Canada's only boutique brand. So this is basically as close as you can get to saying it's a Canadian cigar.
It's
It's
not even a picture of a beaver on it though.
does it have a cool band? Oh, you
It
already
does
got it
have
on
an
box.
it does have a pretty artsy band. If the folks at home want to see that, I don't know if you can see that, but
So a quick bit about it. It's a medium-bodied cigar, ton of flavor. The wrapper is a hybrid tobacco. I believe it's grown in Brazil from a Cuban tobacco seed, so it's called Cubra. Binder and fillers are from Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic. So you're going to get a very well-balanced, flavorful cigar.
Smells really good.
And as it's a 5x50 ring gauge, so it's a regular size.
That's a
cigar.
5. That almost seems like a 6.
You mean inch?
I mean, I've been mistaken.
Well,
I've mistaken 5 for 6 before.
you know the
That's
other
not
thing.
the first time.
The other thing when you Google these and you don't have the cigar and you can't actually, like cross-reference to what you're seeing on the internet.
Sure, like
it's
if you just
it's
looked at the band.
amazing how many Dominion cigars are there. So this is Dominion Kingpin. There's Dominion Black Lotus, which I think we also have.
There's a Black Lotus in there, yeah.
So we don't always get them 100% right, but this is probably 5x50.
I'm not going to argue with you.
So
We'll
I
see
think
how
we've
long she
lost
lasts.
TikTok altogether, so we'll just
TikTok's down. We're going to shut that
we're
down.
gonna shut that down.
So
There was a
good
few
luck.
there was a few people there, but it's just not. Try again one more time, but I doubt it's gonna go.
Well, we got half a dozen folks on the old YouTube there, so
That's good enough. Anyways, we'll set that there for now.
That'll get us started.
Whoops, that'll be good.
Oh, maybe that was the answer the whole time. Was just jam it in a coffee cup.
Shove it in a cup and then give it to Tamboror Station. Tell them it's freshly washed.
That with a free iPhone.
Come with free iPhone. So
And yeah, the old iPhone. Yeah, no connectivity, but let's see what the cup does for it. And then whiskey wise, holy man, we're in for a treat here. This is Jura 12-year single malt Scotch whiskey. Jura is an island just off the. It's actually 60 miles off the west coast of Scotland, off the mainland. It's in the Inner Hebrides. It's only like 142 or 143 square miles.
yeah, it's
Really, really small island, right?
tiny.
But
And I believe the island of Isla is just a little further. It's in between, is it not?
yeah, I think they're parallel, but like Jura is like northwest. I wrote this down even. Where are they? Northeast of Isla.
Okay.
So it'd be between Isla and the mainland. But yeah, pretty cool little island. There's only one road, one village, one pub, one shop. But they have 2 distilleries on the island.
Oh, wow.
One is the Jura Scotch Distillery, and they also have a distillery that makes rum. So I thought that was pretty cool. The distillery for this was built in 1810, and there was at that time, 1810, there was well over 1,000 people lived on the island. It was actually quite well populated. But come the Second World War, and they had a big storm come through. They ripped the roof off the distillery. It all fell into decay and pretty much like socioeconomic collapse on the island. And then in 1963, somebody approached the landowners where the distillery was and said, "Yeah, we should have another crack at this.
Revive the old
Yeah,
girl.
yeah. So they did, and so 1963. It's been going strong since then, and there's now I think there's 212 at the last count. 212 people that live on the island, and every family member that lives on the island has at least one family member that works at the distillery.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty important economically, right? So
Oh wow.
yeah. So the nose for this, I guess the tasting notes should be dark chocolate, a little honey, some walnut, maybe a bit of soft citrus, and the flavor on the palate should be coffee, salted bananas. I said licorice, but I assume black licorice. Not really sure, and a bit of brown sugar. So I think you read a review on this already, right?
So I looked up a couple because as we do on Whiskey Exchange and stuff like that, you get. I found even with TripAdvisor, if you're going places, some of the best information you're going to get is to find the 1-star reviews.
Yeah.
Read those, and then you kind of got to gauge. You got
the devil's advocate.
Yeah, you got to
right?
gauge on like where you align with this person by the way they write. You know,
Sure.
like is this kind of person, or are they
just
crazy?
jaded and bitter or crazy? Yeah.
So, anyways, I looked at the 1-star review, and I had to have a laugh at the way it was described. Probably one of the worst whiskeys I've ever had. Terrible aftertaste that makes you feel like you've drunk an oily ashtray.
So we're in for a treat.
So, but then I read through another one, and you know, well, actually, one more said, if you enjoy cough syrup, you're gonna love this potion. But finally, as you got into the more realistic ones with a little bit of history and whiskey and stuff, they said this is one where you're gonna want to add your water. You're gonna add a drop of water. Not too sure the magic that happens when you do that, but there's a chemistry to it that releases or adds to, or so.
You're masking the overtones and unleashing the undertones.
And if there's a whiskey that we've tried yet that you're going to want to mask the overtones and release the, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Release the undertones, it's going to be this Jura 12 year. But
Well,
I think
even Jura on their own website says this is the most muscular of their whiskey. And I've never heard anybody describe whiskey as muscular. So that already seems kind of daunting, right? But
did you even bring your little water glass?
Oh, yeah.
Your 10,000-year-old water. Let's see if this will open up.
the water right there, if we need a splash.
You always got to try it first without.
This
I
is-
actually. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was telling Stan earlier before this. I bought a $27 bottle of scotch the other day just to see, because we've got some nothing real extravagant, but there's some $150 bottles up there, and boy, can you tell.
Yeah, there's some $150 bottles there.
You can certainly tell when you go from one.
That's your alarm.
No, I just turned it off and then back
Time
on
to wake
again.
up.
No,
Time to get her shit together.
no, yeah, that's
That's
I can get the citrus. I can. Usually that's gonna pop anyways.
smells like shoe polish.
You think so?
Yeah. Can I pour you one?
Absolutely. I'm just gonna see if this would connect one more time. Oh, good lord!
You got old Dick Frost on there.
Dick Frost on there. That's what pops up.
I don't know if Dick Frost ever watches Smoking Oak, but I see he's in Fox Creek these days. Doing live streams every night.
He actually, well, he pops up right when TikTok opens up, because I do follow him, and I was like, hey, what's up, man? Help me get to 1,000. He's like, oh, we'll sign in. So yeah, he's
light it up.
He does follow Smoking Oak.
It's very very fruity, but there's definitely some smoke there. That's the other thing that's interesting about Jura, because from there's a lot of the islands where egg is still like the foundation of their culture, right? A lot of farming communities. Jura is basically a infertile wasteland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's covered in, well, we would call it muskeg here, but it's peat bogs.
Okay.
And they have what's actually called blanket bogs there, where it covers such a large area, and they get such large volumes of rainfall that like the water actually never never has a chance to evaporate.
Okay.
Right, so it's just constantly wet and gross there. Not a very like super inhabitable place. Pretty good for making whiskey.
I wonder, like, so why do they live there?
Well, I mean that's why there's only 200 people that live there, right?
Just was no place
You
left
know?
on the Big Island.
You know, so, but yeah, definitely, you can just catch a hint of that peaty, smoky undertone. It's kind of just weak in the background.
That is true. You can tell that this, it's not from Isla, but it's from over there.
That is interesting.
So I'm not sure that it's the worst. I really don't think it tastes like drinking an oily ashtray.
No, it doesn't taste oily. It tastes very mild.
I wouldn't
It crawls towards the back and the sides of the tongue, towards as it slides down your throat. More the back of the palate, a little bit of warmth, very fruity.
I wouldn't say it tastes like cough syrup either.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think that's even an expensive whiskey. I think that's probably a $60 bottle, maybe $65.
60, 65.
Yeah.
I gotta turn this off. I was gonna try this one more time, but
Struggling at life.
well, I don't know why
Oh, looks like Justin's on. What's up? 8:19. So, we missed him by 2 minutes. So
this won't even load anymore. So it must.
I think
it must be.
TikTok's. Yeah,
That's okay.
so that's so 2021.
It is absolutely.
So let's get these things cut.
We definitely don't need the monster cutter for
There's
these.
a pretty square cap on here. We want to make sure we take a short cut because we don't want to.
No, you don't want to. You don't want to
tying into the wrapper with this thing.
You don't want to go quarter inch.
I also want to be careful with this one because last time I used this one,
You cut yourself.
I cut myself. Oh, lots heavy draw there.
Is it tight?
No, like it's like really, really loose.
Oh,
So that was an interesting thing with the what cigar did we have last time?
things like well, that was already 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago.
It's been a couple weeks. Yeah. It was I can't remember what it was now, but anyways, that was a chisel tip, right? Figurado.
It was.
Yeah.
It was like a square too, like a box
It
press.
was a box press, and I think that's probably what contributed to it. Because as the cigar burned through, as you got further and further in, the draw got tighter and tighter, and it was actually harder to smoke and harder to keep it lit. You better use this one. I'll use this one here.
I liked toasting.
Yeah.
I was watching another YouTube video on cigars, and so I don't know if they're experts or not, but they just scorch the ever living out of the end of it.
Yeah, and I don't think they are, because we look at some of the pros. They say if you're toasting the foot of the cigar, you're not affecting the flavor, right? Whereas if you put the blowtorch to her, you're really impacting the flavor for the rest of that cigar, right? In a negative way, of course, right?
Good cigar, right off the start. I keep thinking back to that gimmick one, the
The limit.
Alec Bradley.
Alec Bradley, that's what it was. Yeah.
What the heck was that thing called? The three something.
The tried
Anyways,
too hard and it
And-
tasted like shit.
well, you like you said right away. You're like, yeah, I get that heavy cream. And there's been a couple of cigars since where that smoke just fills your mouth, and it almost is like a sour cream.
Yeah.
And then you get some of these, and they're just. I guess it did say it was quite a mild cigar.
Yeah, this is very, very, very mild. Well, for now it's mild. Was there any notes on how it progresses through the thirds?
I did no, there was, and I went to the Dominion website, and then I went to that cigar review, and it didn't seem to have much of the. But I didn't see the band though. That's a pretty cool band with the money
is.
and the
Big
the
fat
gangster,
guy?
the mafia
Big fat
boss.
guy with his pinstripe suit on and his fur coat.
He got his Tommy gun,
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
so I guess that's why they cover that up. No guns.
No guns in Canada. We're not that far away, I guess. What's that now? We're can't buy a handgun anymore.
Not supposed to be able to, anyways. But I heard that doesn't come into effect for a week, so everybody has lots of time to go and buy. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a gun owner per se. I have like one, but
Whatever you did in the last week, you better have bought a boat at the same time. You need something for them guns to fall out of conveniently. That is a mighty fine cigar.
seems to be. Of course, I got the wrapper coming off right away. I didn't heed your warning.
You cut too deep.
I did, yeah.
Give her the old what do they call that? The bris.
The bris.
Yeah,
That's what they call it.
that's what the Jewish circumcision.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a bris. I watched a video of back in the '90s, and they had the brisomatic, and it was like a little guillotine, and they had this kid at the bar mitzvah. Anyways, he was traumatized. It was kind of funny, just a little skit. But yeah, so the time of year. Well, you must have been crazy busy too, coming out of harvest, still maintaining the grain business.
It went crazy. One thing that happened this year that really hasn't happened before, selling the bulk of our grain, we normally don't even do into the new year. And I don't understand what happened in the Peace Country, in Alberta, maybe even Prairie Wide, maybe even in North America. But there seems to be a bit of a grain shortage. Now, I don't know if it's farmers got the bins locked and they're waiting for the price to go up, or if there isn't any. But we've had several calls
right?
already. Like, can you bring your grain? Well, $9 malt, $20 canola. Like, these are really, really strong prices
Sure,
that you don't see at harvest.
that's interesting.
And I've asked a couple buyers. I said, like, what's going on? Like, you guys should be, you should be turning us away, not answering the phone when we call, seeing if we can deliver grain. Now you're phoning us. So this, of course, sort of delves down that conspiracy thing of our food insecurity and are we running out? But
Well,
I can tell you from my perspective, it seems like there's a massive amount of need, want, and room to deliver grain.
Yeah. Oh, I could see it. I could see it where there's a mass shortage there, right?
But you're right. When we come out of fall, there's all the grain trucks, all the tractors. We want to get some fall tillage done. We want to get the combine put away, the swaths put away, because you're on borrowed time in the Peace Country. It's foolish to wash a combine yesterday or even today when you know it's going to be minus 10, 20 at night.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff gets blown off, dusted off, swept out, and parked. If you're fortunate enough to have a shed or something, gets parked there out of the elements. Then with that, the feed, that's totally nuts too. Of course, the sign of the times that everybody with an acreage now has an animal on that acreage.
Yeah.
Whereas if they had the acreage before, just to get out of the city, give the kids some room to stretch their legs, now they're like, oh boy, things are expensive.
Yeah.
Let's get a chicken and a goat.
Let's get a chicken and a goat.
horse and
Let's have something else to pour our money into.
Whatever. Well, I think most people are hoping there's going to be a return on some of that, and I mean, there really should be to a certain extent. Although I crunched the numbers on the beef we did this year. Yeah, that ain't very.
You don't think you squared up on that one?
No, I don't. Not the way we do it.
So I'm gonna go for a couple drops here.
You're gonna dab.
So
dab some water.
I've had a few sips and I can feel it. Like I said, it's late. There's a late warmth there. It settles in over the top of my chest. I don't know. Did you take the Pepto before you left the house?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I think you might need it later.
I did. I'm gonna have a little splash too of your 10,000-year-old water if you can spare a drop.
Say when.
Perfect. They say you don't need much, eh? And
No,
they actually
just-
said too, you can see it. You can see it in there,
Yeah, it should swirl around like smoke in the glass.
and you really can. It's quite. Yeah. Scotch and cigars, eh?
Already it smells sweeter.
Two of the coolest things going.
Yeah, if you're not having scotch and cigars this evening, I don't know. Stop having a boring life. Glenn's on. Glenn Gillis. Good evening, mister. How's the snow up there? Well, it remains to be seen. We just got our first little dusting tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning we're gonna get up and it's gonna be like
It will be because when
Gross.
I left, so I live west of Stan. Weather usually comes in from the west. It was snowing pretty good at my place, and I kind of outran it about a mile from Stan's place. It was just starting to come down. So it's I bet you if you go outside right now, it's probably snowing.
probably just giving her. Yeah. I should open the shop door and let all the goddamn flies out.
Just let them. Well, I don't know where they went. I guess you turned the light on over
Well,
there, but
I had to-
they left that light
I had to
altogether.
switch the lights.
They come in out of the snow.
Well, and I put the propane heater over there, and that was probably there's probably enough carbon monoxide over there for them to just be like, nah, we're good. So
That thing puts out too, so
yeah, it's chucking some major heat. I was quite surprised actually.
Gotta find one of those
I
from
got that. Well, there's one down there if you want to use it.
cold storage shed that I can shove it under my tractor in the morning.
Yeah, that would be good. Tarp it in and throw one of those under there. 20 minutes, you'd be in business. Be a lot safer than Herman Nelson.
Yes, for sure.
So
This didn't even smell bad either. Like right off the start, like didn't smell like a glove box.
didn't have that mousy grain truck smell.
And it's a really good cigar.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
I'll
impressed.
have to. You think I got this, eh?
What's that?
This cigar.
I think you bought this one, yeah.
I wonder where it comes from. It must have come from L's News downtown. But you said it was in the bottom, so who knows where it comes from?
No, it was up top.
Was it?
The Monte Cristos #2s are down in the bottom.
Those should be.
I
well
usually,
aged.
if I'm going to buy one, like I'll take a picture of it and send it to you, right?
Oh, okay.
And I have no recollection
Well, maybe it
of doing that.
might have been.
I just picked up a couple other ones though, and they're just
Actually, I think you're right. When we were furniture shopping, we were down to Midwest on Main,
okay.
and I bailed out of there and went down to L's News.
Yeah, that's the Black Lotus one. This is the one I just got. The Flor de las Antillas Toro. And then these short stubby ones is a Brickhouse Maduro. That's a 5. It says right on it 5" by 54.
So these were 6s then.
So they had to be 6s. Has to be.
Interesting. Well, I had. Interesting.
Anyways. So getting overwhelmed. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? Because I know how I deal with it. It usually doesn't help.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I have my. Oh, it was good. I actually had a good one today. So I had a lot going on the go. We're gonna get another load of molasses coming in there in big tanks. I had to pump the last tank out, and I don't know if you guys ever did this on the rig, but when we were transferring from the tank farm to the mud tanks,
Yeah.
we actually hung effectively a lanyard with a sign that says "Ask me what I'm doing." And the derrick hand would wear that.
Oh,
Because
really?
nobody ever, I don't care how good, well, maybe you were, but how good you were at working derrick could start a 10 cube transfer.
Yeah.
And then remember and go back before it spilled.
Oh.
It was always
Yeah.
overflowing. That's when you knew you had enough.
Yeah. You
When
got
it was
enough.
running
It's
over the
running
mud
down
tank.
the side of the lease, yeah.
So we actually, at the transfer pump, we hung a sign there. And it was funny, like, it's almost like a dunce cap situation, but nobody was offended by it. It was very helpful.
Yeah.
Like, saved thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of dollars if it's still going on in
environmental
and
factors.
major environmental impact. So, anyways, I was getting ready to make feed today. I have my little tank sitting by the mill that I use to fill my pails out of it. Of course, today was a little bit cooler, so I opened it up to fill my pail.
As you
I
do.
went over, started the thing pumping into the other tank.
Yeah.
Someone drove in,
Oh, yeah.
started talking to them, looked over, and just a slick of molasses
Sticky
running
mess,
down the
eh?
yard. And I
Oh,
thought,
man.
oh man. So, although I was good, so
So what do you do?
Well,
You just wait
I-
for morning and you just come by and scoop it all up?
actually, it was funny. I shoveled a lot of it up with a grain shovel.
Yeah.
Like it's so thick.
Sure.
that you can just like, and the ground there is so packed and it's just covered with grain anyway, so
Yeah.
it's not rocks or anything.
Yeah.
So I shoveled like 3 or 4 pails of it up. I don't even actually think I lost that much, and it's because it was flowing out of the tank so slowly. But normally I would have thrown a huge fit like a child, instantly blamed it on somebody else, like
That guy
that wasn't
in the
gonna,
yard.
or yeah, whoever drove in the yard, or someone that wasn't helping me that should have been, or whatever. But I actually handled it like a sport today. I just kind of like looked deep down inside, thought about my sign, asked me what I'm doing, remembered full well when I opened the valve that I was probably going to forget, and I did. So, but then I realized, at that moment, I was like, I gotta stop, because this isn't help. This isn't going to work.
Never helps, eh?
Right? Like, to do all this at once, by the time you look here and, okay, well, there's $100 worth of molasses running down, and there's all these things. None of it helps. So anyway, it was just slow down.
Yeah.
Did what I had to do, and then I even set a plan today, which I normally don't do, because I had some more orders, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to get them today, so I'll just do them next week. I didn't even try to get them. It wasn't going to be possible. I got some. I'm currently running a maintenance deficit right now on the farm. With there was one where the seal fell out of the bearing, so I can see all the ball bearings in there.
Yeah.
And that's got to be fixed. I got to flip my hammer. I got lots to do that haven't been done over the
Really
year.
get the grease in there.
Yeah. Well, if you can get down there to grease it, but there was a fan that pulls the dust out that has a big hole in it, so that's been covering it. It's just a lot. There's been a tremendous maintenance deficit. So and part of that was I was overwhelmed with everything else. So today I thought, you know what, it's going to snow tonight. I'm going to get everything cleaned up. I'm going to get everything put in the heated shop.
Sure. So
when it's snowing tomorrow, I don't want to be outside because I can't make feed outside anyways.
Yeah. No.
Then I can start getting caught up on that. And I think once you make set that hard line, that goal where you're like, all right, this is too much now.
Sure.
Like, and it's funny. I was talking to lots of people about this, picking up feed, and I mean, I think everybody around here agrees. The fall has been so long that we're all like really, really confused at why winter's not here yet.
Yeah,
and now we're getting tired.
Yeah,
because even when I look around at our place, there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to do that didn't get done, but there's a tremendous amount of stuff that got done.
Yeah, usually a guy would have given up a month ago.
Absolutely, and I'm thinking like, I just fixed a header on our one shop. It had been wrecked for 20 years. I hit it with the grain truck hoisting up, and I finally got that fixed like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And normally, I mean, we're under a foot of snow by now.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking around, this fixed, that fixed, and I thought, it's not that bad. Like, I'm not that far behind. So we can set a line here now. Unfortunately for the people that phone at 4:00 on a Friday to order their feed, I just can't run 24/7. So it's
just probably a bad time to tell you need a tote of molasses over here.
Well, that's. Anyways,
I'm just teasing, but seriously, I do actually need one. I'll order it from you next week when things slow down.
I got the cheap ones already all full.
Oh, you do? There you go. Well, I guess it'd be interesting to hear from the folks at home. What gets them fired up? What gets them feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, throw those in as you go. Stan's paying attention here.
Kind of trying to keep an eye.
It's not all about me for sure.
An eye towards the screen. Ken says all my little jobs wrapped up today. Been flat out for a bit now, so yeah, that's the same for me. Honestly, just hair straight back, just giving her going around and around, probably doing nothing. Like doing 75 things, finishing none, or almost getting it done, and then just I squirrel, and then I got to go over there and do that other thing, right?
Well, I was thinking too, because we throw some notes, we write some stuff down, some points to touch on. There was like a whole part of when we did time management. I don't even know if we had the Smoking Oak channel then, or if we were still running on our independent channels. That was a while ago.
I think time management, and there was another one on even passive income would have touched on some of that, because we talked on like how it's possible to be able to do that, because that's the stuff that shouldn't overwhelm you, right? Did you go out?
It did.
That's disappointing.
Went out right away.
Oh,
but I spent too long talking.
You were talking too long, yeah.
So, but when we did passive time management, I know there was a whole part of that was like getting your mental state of mind around the tasks.
Oh, 100%.
You will not be efficient if you leave the shop with your coveralls on thinking, I got to go do this water, and get halfway there and divert and go do something else.
Yeah.
Then nothing's going to get done, because you're going to do whatever you got in your peripheral vision that needs to be done. That's going to be half-assed because you were going to do something else. And then we start to, at that point, I guess, snowball downhill the wrong way, and it just goes all sorts.
My wife just gave me shit for this just the other day. So on the list of things to do, I had a whole bunch of buffalo wire we tore out earlier in the year. I never did anything with it. It was all rolled up, and of course it's on the edge of the field. And the cows got after one like it was a soccer ball, and they kicked it all over the field. And some of it ended up in the dugout, so I had to go up and drag it out, because otherwise somebody was going to get bear trapped in the dugout, and that wouldn't be good, right? So drag it all up to the yard, and it sat here for, you might have even seen it in the daylight. Like, it sat here for probably 2 or 3 weeks, not moving, just tying up space in the yard, right? And same time working on the barn. So I got straw bales, because we did harvest, straw bales in my horse trailer. I can't go in the barn till I finish the barn. Can't get rid of this stupid fencing because my trailer's tied up to straw bales. So I went out the other day, and the objective was to get the bales into the barn, and then get all that haywire and crap, or not haywire, buffalo wire, into the trailer and out to the dump. Do a dump run, get it gone. Well, I don't think I never picked up any wire. I just went and looked at the trailer, and I'm like, oh, look, some round bales that are sitting on the ground, and it's going to snow here soon, and they're all going to get froze to the ground in January, and I'm going to have busted. Because I remember last spring, I had net wrap froze to the ground, and I was literally taking the back wheels of the tractor off. I was cursing and swearing. So I was like, I'm just going to take 10 minutes. I'm going to restack all these bales. They're nice and neat. No strings will freeze in the ground. Logically, it made sense, but then the wife's just chewing my ass. Like, don't you think you're getting a little sidetracked here? And the dump closes at 6 o'clock. And of course, I got done at like 3:30, 4 o'clock or something. I had lots of time, but she's right. Like, I totally went out there to do one very specific thing. That was the objective for the day. Ended up doing 3 other things. And I think I left the house. I left the house at like 10:30 in the morning to go out for the day. And I still I never got to the dump until like 3:34. So very quickly, if something would have gone wrong there, I'd have ended up with, if there'd been a problem with the trailer or something, like, I'd have had all that wire strung out across my yard, 8 inches of snow on top of it, and I'd have been freaking right out. So, what do we miss here? Kent says, nice feeling, saving so much time doing stuff when it's dry and warmer than -10. Tomorrow might be different. Well, and that's what it is, right? You get that last minute flight of the bumblebee. You're trying to get everything picked up. I have a joke here. We call it last chance Sunday, right? Like, before the snowfall hits, you go around, fly to the bumblebee, pick everything up, and then sometime right around early mid-January, you get second chance Sunday where everything melts, and you run around, pick it all up, and then, because you're never going to see it again until May long weekend, right? So
no, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
And if he says worse is feeling like you got the corrals already, and then a couple bulls decide to fight in the water, that's one thing. That's why I got that love-hate relationship with cows. Like, I love how they taste, but I hate how they fuck up corrals. Like,
livestock in general is just it adds that whole element of surprise to your day when you wake up and you're like, I know what I'm doing today, and then you go to check for eggs or feed the steers, and you're like, no, I know what I'm doing today. Right? I'm going to get these things and put them back, or I'm going to fix this fence or put this back up or untangle all this wire from one of their legs. Or
Well, it wasn't half an hour before we got kicked off here, and I was supposed to be bathing the kids, and I looked out the window and I watched the ram just jump over a 5-foot fence and cruise around in the bushes. Like, and honestly, I probably wouldn't care, but if he's going to eat the wife's lilac bushes, then I'll be
then you'd be looking.
I'll be up shit creek, especially this time of year because there's not lots to chew, so they probably wouldn't recover.
Pulling
from
your
that.
cod out in the shop again.
Yeah. Well, when we first moved in here, this was our bedroom actually back in the day, and the wife planted I don't know how many dozens of lilac bushes, and I rented a traco to dig in the water line, and I'm pretty sure 80% of them I just decimated them with that traco. Like, see you later, lilacs. So now for like Mother's Day every year, I got to buy her a lilac bush and we'll go plant it somewhere.
Plant it somewhere.
You know, after about 25, 30 years, we'll recoup all the lilacs that they decimated. So.
Well, you definitely need some shelter up here on the Windy Hill.
Well,
We've had some wind,
eh?
eh? Holy shit.
It's been crazy. The other day, I couldn't believe it. It was only -3, -4, but that little bit of wind, you could have stripped meat right off a freaking chicken. Like it was just right to the bone.
I gotta ask you, and I've talked to like 3 or 4 older guys now that have been through the yard. Does it not feel colder than it did like even 5 years ago?
Well, I think if we look at the reference from the other day, I mean, we were looking at a 70% humidity. It's -3, and it's a slight breeze. So there's definitely a climatic change there. You know, I mean, I remember when I first got off the plane 22 years ago, everybody said, "Oh, it's a dry cold. It's a dry cold." Well, what you're seeing now is that no, it's 70, 80% humidity. It's not a dry cold anymore.
But I've noticed it in the machinery. So this will be, I think, my 9th year grinding grain, and of course, a lot of it's done in the winter, right?
Sure.
So I used to have timers set for the block heaters, turn on at whatever. When I lived in town yet, turn on at 5 in the morning. So by the time I get there at 9, it's been plugged in for 4 hours. Everybody always said, okay, that 4 hours, that's all your vehicle needs, right? Anything more is...
Anything else is wasteful. Yeah.
Always worked. It always worked. Now, when it was really, really cold, I'd put the stuff in the heated shop overnight. So, 2 days ago when I went out, it was -10. I had to boost everything.
Really?
I just couldn't believe it. And you know, -20, -30, plugged in for 4 or 5 hours, this stuff would start. Shot of ether, it would go. But now at -10, it doesn't even. And it just seems to be.
Maybe it's just getting older though too, right?
Well, that was the other thing. But those old boys that I was talking to, they said like, they thought they were just getting older, but they said they said their trucks and stuff, everything just doesn't seem to want to start.
Huh.
Their chore tractors, it doesn't. So I don't know if I was always told windshield factor didn't affect stationary objects like machinery.
Shouldn't. No, it shouldn't.
But I
mean,
think,
it'll cool off quicker.
I think that they're wrong. I think it's.
But I mean, once you hit ambient, I mean, you can't get any colder than ambient at that point, right?
Something's changing, man.
Yeah.
The machinery is not liking it. So I don't know if we're headed for this day after tomorrow type situation in the winter where nothing starts and we got a wood stove in the new house. So we'll be.
I'm definitely not liking it either. I'm still not. I wouldn't think I'm old enough to say I'm old enough, but I'm definitely old enough to say that like I don't like going outside in the winter.
Oh God, no.
It's not a good, like when it's I don't care who you are, -25. After that, doesn't matter how cold it is. It is like when you feel crystals forming on your kidneys. Like that's just no. I can't do that anymore. I remember
everything about it.
Like 20 years ago, up the stick, working Derek, and legit, like you can feel your organs start to freeze because you're that cold. And it's like, man, I can't even take a stiff breeze anymore. I'm just like,
oh, I hear you. I
know?
don't. I mean, a guy, you throw on some long johns and a tight long sleeve shirt, hoodie, and a decent jacket, and life is good. But
I busted that one. Here we go. That's a shame. Gone out on me. Sure glad I built this to enhance the draw because it's worked really good for digging the old ash out of these cigars that don't stay lit. Throw me the big lighter and
you're going at it.
See if we can get this thing really roasting here.
So I think when we did, because I was thinking about a lot of this too. When I was doing my YouTube videos on my other channel, I noticed this summer a lot of the times. While I was walking out of the house over towards the shop, I was talking to the phone. Okay, this is gonna be my day. This is what we're gonna do today. Very seldom did I ever get even started on any of the stuff that I had planned in the house to do that day. And it made me
Was that
think.
because YouTube was a distraction or what?
No. I mean, that's just, you okay. I'm gonna do these 4 things today, and you walk over, and the first thing you see is, you fire the tractor up, hydraulic hose goes.
Sure.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm not doing that anymore.
I
So
guess
now
not.
I'm going to town to get a hydraulic hose.
Yeah.
And
Scope change.
it made me think, because when you start to look into these things about prioritizing your work, getting things figured out, it'll make a list. But does make a list, I guess, apply to farming, to hobby farming, or even your day to day? Like, there's so much coming at you now.
100% it does.
Can you be efficient by sitting down over breakfast and making a list of 10 things when you go out and number 1 throws the whole list into the bin?
I think it really depends on your personality and your reaction to what's your stress reaction? Like, when you get stressed out, what do you do? Because I know what I do is if I get really stressed out, I procrastinate. Like, I will ignore it, and I'll okay, well, let's have a cup of tea, and then I'll think about it overnight, and then I'll have a cup of tea in the morning and pretend this is not a problem.
I go full throttle insane the other way.
Yeah, no,
I'm not stopping until it's fixed.
So I find that suddenly, one day I've got, maybe now, instead of having one problem that's relatively, maybe minor complexity in terms of how hard it is to fix, but not a major. A week later, suddenly I've got 5 or 6 things piled up. Now, if I don't have a list, well, a week later I'm going to have 12 things, right? So I need to pull that list and say, okay, I got to prioritize, and they're generally only half an hour, 40-minute things. Like, they're not like, oh, I got to spend the whole goddamn day, but yeah, if you procrastinate, you spend the whole day and you don't do it, still not done, right? I got a tractor out there, the old massive tractor sitting out there. I got to pull the carb off that thing and get it all cleaned out so I can get the thing started. Fuck, that's been all summer. All summer, that thing hasn't moved, right?
Well, I thought you had it running once.
Oh, I had it firing, but the carb's all gummed up, and I should have put some seafoam through it, and didn't. So
no, I can't. I was really thinking about this list thing. Probably been 2-3 weeks ago, where I don't think for me it's a benefit at all.
No,
it might be all right to write some things down, but it's and maybe it's there's too many people coming in out of the yard or whatever. Lots of people want to talk for probably quite a bit longer than I should be doing. But so here's another thing, and I put this in my video, and this happens 3 times, and it was truly amazing. If somebody comes for one 1,500 pound bag of feed, I can load that easily with my old backhoe, my tractor, or my telehandler.
Yeah,
no problem. Somebody comes with a high boy and they want 6 pallets. I only have good pallet. Well, the pallet force can go from the backhoe to the telehandler, but the most efficient way to load this is with the telehandler. It lifts higher, stabler, and everything. So anyways, you really rely on this. A guy came with a high boy for 6 pallets, couldn't get it started.
Couldn't get the telehandler.
Couldn't even get it started. Like, it wasn't the battery was dead. There's something wrong with the starter. So right there, that throws you for a loop. So if you had this list, now your day is as soon as you get him loaded, your day is dedicated to getting this telehandler going, so this never happens again. Then the next guy come, and what did he want? He wanted it's happened 3 times. It was unbelievable. One guy wanted 4 totes of molasses. The pump wouldn't work. I just bought that pump, and I pulled on the recoil, and the nut inside backed off, so all the dogs wouldn't catch to spin it over.
I guess if your everyday is just a constant, like, throw the fucking dice in the air and see what happens, then maybe you don't need a list.
That seems how my days go. But there is structure to them. It's just nothing works for me.
If you have any air of predictability, I think, if you have, okay, these are the things that I'm going to do, I need to get done, and they are within my control, then the list is helpful at doing that. But yeah, if
I see what you're saying.
If it's a crapshoot, like if you open, it's like the battle plan, right? The minute the first shot's fired, I guess we change the plan. yeah, I don't know if the list would be helpful in terms of that, right? Because it's not like one day at a time at that point. It's literally just
Well, and then that's, you know,
see where she
as
goes.
sad as it sounds, I kind of like, you know, I put my boots on one foot at a time, and then I just walk out to see what misery is going to greet me halfway across the lawn. And there's usually the days where there's nothing planned, it's flawless.
Yeah.
You know, and it was funny because
We can't fail if you don't have a plan, though, right? Because you don't have any expectations for the day.
no, well, I guess so, but this was last summer or whatever. I had a whole bunch of bags to make, and we sent the kids to town with their grandparents, and my wife was going to help me make these bags. We didn't get the first bag made, and the gearbox blew out of the bottom of that thing. And it had run all summer.
So then what do? Just go get the kids again and just
Well,
lock yourself in the shop?
Yeah, right. You take a deep breath. I mean, I had another mill, so we were able to keep going. I did keep that backup one, but there's things like that where you really, like you say, so all this planning, this planning that went into it. For me, the whole planning goes into the hardly working. I mean, if you're sitting over breakfast planning your day, in my eyes, and for my operation, you're getting nothing done, because the minute you walk out the door, you can throw that list right in the garbage.
Wow.
Nothing on that list is getting done the way you thought it was, or in the time you thought it was getting done.
I think I'm a firm believer if you're planning something like right before you do it, chances are you're missing the mark, right? You should be planning like quite a bit in advance for it. And then all you need to do right beforehand is make sure you got the stuff that you needed, right?
I guess so.
You know, that's a bit cliche, but we have a thing at work. It's called plan, prepare, and execute. Right? Plan happens up front. Right before you do it, you're just double checking, make sure you got everything you need, and then you go to work.
These go out a lot. I don't know why.
Well, if you get an adder, and I don't know, you've been kind of sucking on that thing like a dry tit. I don't know. I'm quite a ways ahead of you for a change here. So,
well, I've been hammering through quite a bit of talking, because this overwhelming thing is it really plays a part in my day-to-day life.
Yeah,
with that. I'm trying to think of what that third one was, and maybe that's how often this happens to me, that I forget, and it's just like every day is some sort of disaster.
It's a thing. Yeah.
And it's just like, where do we go from here? Like, are they going to have this part? Are they going to have this hose?
Well, that's
am I going to have to go get it? Or
really frustrating.
Send somebody?
Because you're like, how much of that is out of your control even? So then you're stressed and frustrated over something that, I mean, what can you even do about it?
Yeah. Even the other day,
you grit your teeth and just be like, oh.
The neighbor needed some oats quite a bit, so I asked him one on the 31st. He said, "Yeah, you need that right away, or well, it's nice to get it before the weather, right?" And he's right. So
yeah, not wrong.
6:30, whatever. Last night, load up and head out to Demet to the scales to weigh it to bring it back, so we can at least get one Super B load off before the snow comes. It takes a lot of time, and it's all, I don't know. I guess maybe I find myself, I work better like on the fly. Just like, all right, we'll just keep going and going and going, and then I don't like to put too much stuff off though. If something breaks, I have to fix it. I can't not.
If you're constantly moving like that though, how do you know that you've achieved what you set out to achieve?
Well,
without an end game.
I think for me, and is there is no buzzer. It's just like, we'll get as much as we can do fit into the day, and then tomorrow we'll either finish or see what other misery God has planned for us.
You ever have that like 6 o'clock comes around, you turn your coveralls inside out, and just, I guess we're the night shift now, and just give her?
Oh yeah, no, especially when I used to live when I lived in town. Oh yeah, I'd stay at the farm quite late.
Yeah. That's something I'm really struggling with lately. Like even the last few years, and maybe I've just become burnt out over time. or maybe it's just extra workload, but I'm finding that more so now where I come home from work, I'll do a couple little chores, get the kids in bed, and then I'll be damned if I can do a project.
That's it, eh?
Like last night, I think I was in bed at like 8:45. Like I was just tapping out, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that's necessarily an age thing, but I think there's definitely a mental fatigue piece to it, right?
Well, I had a pretty good realization there, and I talk about it with my wife every once in a while. Where you gauge, what other people do, 9 to 5ers, people that live in a condo or whatever, and because I say it to everybody. I actually consider myself quite a lazy person. I don't use every minute of the day.
No.
But then when you get thinking of how much you do in a day, and you look at the trail behind you, I think that it's probably exponentially more than other people get done. They just don't have the same requirements on their time.
That's true. That is true.
So when we sit back, certainly, and it's not just farmers or hobby farmers, just rural, like living rural in northern Alberta, living rural anywhere. There's a certain amount of time dedicated just to survival.
Yeah, there is.
Right?
Yeah.
You're basically in charge of your own infrastructure.
I remember days when you feel like you had such a non-productive piece of shit. Like I was so lazy today. I didn't do anything. But if you actually looked at what you did, just for that basics, like just what I had to do to survive, just to keep things running, is significantly more than some of the folks that I know that live in town that sit on the couch and they play video games. And I don't know. I'm not an advocate for video games whatsoever.
No.
I think that's a quickest way to kill brain cells and get sucked into the matrix. Right?
Except for Wii Bowling.
Wii Bowling, yeah, that's good. Good for your what do they call that? Gross motor skills, I guess.
We have
keep you limber.
Hasn't been plugged in like 4 years.
Yeah.
Maybe in the new house.
Ours is probably 2 or 3 years. I think nieces and nephews used it one time in the basement.
Yeah.
Doesn't get a lot of traction.
No, I don't think that's the best way to spend your evening either.
We missed a cute couple comments here. Robin Tangadol. That's actually he's the guy that works with me there. He just hired on. So he says what gets measured gets done. The list works and it helps you feel like you accomplished something. Great discussion and content. So I'd have to agree with that. There is a sense of satisfaction if you had a list of things. Just to be able to go there and put that check mark on the notepad and be like, fuck yeah, I crushed the laundry, or whatever that little 5-minute craft was, or whatever it was you had to do. And then to go back at the end of the day and be like, I did 6 things today, as opposed to looking back at the end of the day and just be like, oh man, I'm exhausted. What did I even do today? And you did the same 6 things, but there's no scoreboard to say,
yeah,
I deserve a cigar and a glass of whiskey, right? So
I don't know. I'm not sold on your guys' list.
Well, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, right? But
I don't think it for me. I don't think it. The time it takes to make the list is offset by the time that you don't spend doing the list, doing things on the list.
How hard is the list?
Well, I mean, I don't know either, right? If you got
cows, pick up molasses.
If you've got
clean the shop.
Well, so
take the kids to dance.
What do you do when the first thing on the list throws you for the loop for the whole day? You get nothing done on the list.
Adapt and overcome. That's what humans have done for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Refocus, reprioritize.
Change the list. Keep adapting down.
Sometimes if it's
by the end of the day, you've got the thing, and then all I want to do today is make a list.
If number one on the list is
that's done.
Well, no.
Back to the house.
If you have a list and you prioritize that list, and number one on that list is mission critical for the remainder of the day, and you walk out the door and all hell breaks loose, number one's 6 ways from Sunday, and now you got to go to town and get parts. Well, you probably can't do that other stuff anyways, right?
No.
So, it has to be a living document. the list has to be a living document if that's how you're going to live your life, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you also have to be accepting of the fact that some stuff might make it to the list, doesn't get done, and might never make it back on that list for hell, maybe not even till next year. So
Well, I agree with all that, and I think that's for those reasons. I think that time spent on a list, at least for me, is time not well spent.
yeah,
Because I know, and I guess it all depends your situation. I mean, I know enough of the important things for the day, anyways, right? I mean, feed is right up there with the most important. Grain and storage is the most important, right? When I check grain bins and I see a temperature cable has gone up 2 or 3 degrees, that's it now. That's the fucking day is spent doing that.
yeah.
It doesn't matter whatever else was going on. The day is now spent moving grain. So I guess, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe what I need to do is
But maybe
make my rounds in the morning, and then make my list.
But maybe your list can just be one thing. Maybe that is your list. Is I'm gonna move grain today, and that's what's gonna keep you honest. That's what's gonna keep you from walking across the yard and going, oh shit, look at that. I need to do that too.
Yeah.
And you're like, nope, I gotta move grain today. That's, it's like the little kid that goes to the grocery store with the shopping list, right? So they don't spend $50 on candy. They come home with bread and milk and cheese. I don't know. But anyways, why does it get on the list? For me, things make it on the list if they're within the 80-20 rule, right? Like 80% of your problems are going to come from 20% of your inputs. So that's probably, you don't need to look at everything that's happening on the farm at all. But if it's within the 20% window that's consistently causing you grief, you probably need to focus 80% of your energy there, because otherwise, you'll just around and around and around the yard chasing baler twine, right? So, what do you think of the whiskey so far?
I like it. I think it is definitely one that benefited from a splash of water.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't off put by it just straight either, though.
Oh, it was good straight. I found that it got sweeter with a drop of water.
Of course, the water didn't start
milder.
till after the cigar too, which also.
Well, it's kind of that kind of throws things off, right? So, what do we got for comments here? Sophisticated shiner. Well, that's Curtis. He's late to the party. Says we're looking sharp. There was a bit of a wardrobe change.
It was. It wasn't even planned either.
But no, it was just ad lib.
It was.
See what happened. Throw some color at her. Ken says, the list goes to the fuck it bucket. We've all done that, I think.
Ken's on my team, maybe.
Maybe he's on your team.
Team no list.
Team no list.
I can go on and on with the misery. I know everybody has it happen, but it just seems like it happens more often than not, right? So you said, well, maybe the grain hauling is all you're going to be doing that day. Yeah, that's true. But when you go, so the first thing you do is check the bin. Okay, there's something wrong. I gotta take some grain out of it. So then you go to the truck. Fucking truck's dead.
Yeah.
All right. So now we get that going. So then you get it up there, and then you go to get the grain back, and you fucking fire that up, and the shear pin breaks. And like it might sound exaggerated, but these are real situations.
They do
that
really happen. Yeah.
I experience them quite regularly, and like my dad's, sometimes he can see that I'm getting, physically, emotionally stressed out, and he said, there's a lot of machinery out here, and it's, I mean, it's not all older than the Ark, and it's not all brand new either, but it's all somewhere in the middle, and you got to realize that if you have 1,000 tires, odds are one's going to be flat.
I guess that's
if you have 700 batteries, odds are one's going to be dead.
One's going to be dead. That is the big problem that exists within agriculture too, is that mission critical for the day might mean starting a machine that hasn't ran in 8 months. Right? You put that thing away, you did whatever, you used it, it was functional when you parked it. It sat there for 8 months, didn't turn a wheel. It was greased, theoretically should be sound. You turn that key, flick that switch, engage that PTO, and things like, not today.
Not today.
And I mean, there is definitely that, as opposed to, certain equipment that you probably use every day, right? So I don't know. for me, I get incredibly frustrated with this too, because we do, we provide a little bit of support to the family farm, and you show up, it's okay, it's sunny. I guess we're gonna go cut hay today, and we'll drag equipment out of the bush, and then wonder why it doesn't work, and you're like, I wonder why, sometime between seeding and haying season, why this stuff couldn't have got drug out of the bush, greased, test fired, made a dry run around the field kind of thing. But sometimes I guess you don't have time, right?
Well, that is one of the true sins, and I mean I watched my dad do it while certainly while I was growing up. So he always had an off-farm job, and that's for those working off-farm, that's
what kills you, right?
That is a tremendous hurdle that you have to overcome daily. Is how much, because you have a lot smaller. I mean, I got 12, 16 hours a day. All I do is farm.
Yeah.
To get this stuff going. But if you're working out and then you're coming home to whatever, I mean, in the winter you might have 45 minutes of light. You might not even get that.
You probably don't even have that,
depending on how long your day is.
Yeah.
And in the summer as well, in order to balance family life, you might not just have and people can think like, well, you can work a little later in the evening. Well, it gets to be a little bit of a drain on you as well when you're putting your work clothes on it after supper to go back.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually had the odd meltdown myself where I was like, I mean, we run basically. I mean, I've loaded feed on people at 2 a.m. when they're coming through. Oh, I'm going back. I'm going back. Up north, but I'm coming from Edmonton. I'm leaving Edmonton at 6 o'clock.
That's crazy.
Can you load me? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I don't know why, but I think part of it is because I realize the blessing that I have I don't have to work out, so
sure.
I should really be applying myself as much as I can to making this work if I'm not going to go work out. And it robs from a lot of that.
Yeah.
But you can't. As I was saying, like some meltdowns where you come in and you're like, you know what? I don't want to go back out. I've had supper. I've had a shower. Got all the grease and grain dust off me. I don't want to go back out. And then be like, okay, well, someone comes at 9:30.
Yeah.
So not always do we want to just. So that's saying, well, you work a little more in the evening. Well, I mean, you can't always. You get tired too.
Yeah, and that's the struggle that we have on our farm is that we literally work a full day off farm, and so we get whatever the half an hour or 45 minutes, maybe an hour if we're really lucky, if we have a quick day at work, to come in and do an assessment of a needs assessment on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
About all the stuff that needs to get done after supper. And now, of course, with the new little one, it's like now we've got 2 bedtimes to manage, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like we can have supper and then Charlotte comes out and we just we work away for 2 or 3 hours and then we go put her to bed. There's a what do you call it? A routine where we got to get the little one to bed, and then we got to get the older one settled, and she's in this phase right now where bedtime is not like 25 minutes, like have a bath, get jammies on, go read a book, and then go to bed. Like she'll keep you there. Like so I gotta tell you something. I'm so scared. I need you. I can't sleep. I need a drink of water. I want a snack. And so then that what should take 20 minutes takes like sometimes 2.5 hours, and then you get that, and then she's asleep, and then it's like, oh no, I really want to go to the shop and do all this stuff, right? So that's really, really difficult. So then, if you forsake doing the things that you could do during that time, well, then the list, whether you like it or not, that list exists somewhere in the background. There's a list of shit that needs to get done, right? And it just piles up and piles up and piles up, right? So then the weekend comes, if you work a Monday to Friday job, the weekend comes and then you're like, okay, well, I got to get this, and this done. And, the wife's like, okay, we want to go see my mom and dad, and we're going to go do a thing with the kids because they've been in school, and because you got to have legitimate family time. But you've also got all this other stuff done. So then you find yourself literally, you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday when you really should try and rest and working in the dark, try and get things done. And then you're bagged by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You're grumpy, you got a headache. You're not a really good, you're not giving to your family what you should give to your family, right? So that's to me where I really struggle with that overwhelmed side of things, right? And I don't know. Sometimes you need a day away. You need the fucking bucket. Sometimes you just need to. I'm not gonna get it done today. It's not gonna happen. Sometimes you just need to have a day where you're like, I'm going all out. Like, tell the wife, no, the kids are yours today, and we're just giving her, right? For as much as we like to have the kids come with us and learn things, that's generally like, hey, let's just take 2 or 3 times as long as we need to get something done. And that's necessary for the future generation of agriculture. But it's damn near impossible to get anything done when you got a 3-year-old on one side, another one in the stroller, and you're trying to pack 2 square bales. Like, good luck.
It is.
Good
Yeah,
luck,
it is.
right?
It is. It impedes your ability for sure. But like you say, it's a necessary evil for sure.
Yeah.
So
I got to get back. For me, I definitely have to circle back and focus on some of my early thoughts when we started building the farm. Focus on inputs and focus on the things that we did initially to mitigate or minimize some of those inputs. Like, we spent, I don't know how much money. We started off, we had a quad, and we realized really quickly, if I need to pack buckets of grain or anything like that, now I need a wagon because it can't all fit on the quad. So we packed stuff around a wagon. Well, then we had kids. Well, now I need somewhere to put kids and buckets and bales and all this stuff. So then we bought the side by side, and now it's just sitting there, right? Because I got fencing pliers and buckets of shit and tools and all this crap parked in there. I need to clean that thing out and just put my square bales, buckets of grain, maybe a pail of molasses in there, and just, that's for chores, right? Clean it out, because that's the chaos for me. Is what I'm a very chaotic person. Like, you go, well, you've seen the shop, right? You go in there and there's just a lot going on. It's really, really busy. And the procrastination piece kills me. It kills me every day because I can't get nothing done because I'm just tripping over shit that I should have put away months ago. I find that's tough.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, our shop is a total disaster too. Looks like a bomb went off in there. I see someone, I'm not sure who was cleaning it up the other day, but I mean that's that happens big on our farm with spring seeding, fall harvest. I mean, you wheel in front of the shop, something's broke down, you got to fix it. All the tools come out on the little wheelie tray. You fix whatever it is. You just leave it, shove the tray back in there with all the stuff on it, and up back to the field you go. Nobody puts anything away because you're.
Did you find that tray in October?
Well, it's back to what we said earlier. This fall I have a little bit more, sure, please. This fall's been so incredibly long that we've missed a lot of. No, I guess not. We've missed a lot of inside days already.
The downtime that you'd usually take for maintenance,
right? And like most of the time we're wondering if we're going to be on combining by Halloween. Well, we were done like 3 weeks before Halloween this year.
Yeah.
And we were done. When was that Scotch tasting? That was October 1st. We were already done. So we'd been done the whole month. We finished in the 3rd week of September or something.
Yeah.
And
I think you still had some canola or something.
We had canola. We had a bit of sunflowers to do, but and also normally there's days in between. We get rained out for 3 or 4 days, you get snowed under. You got to wait for the snow to melt and then go back harvesting. We
Yeah.
didn't have any of that.
None of that.
And for some reason, the longest stretch we had was like 3 or 4 days while we were waiting for the canola to cure. And I guess that was a what's the word? It wasn't quite the blessing that it seemed to be. There was a lot of stuff got missed. There was no downtime. There was no inside days. I kept telling my boys, like, oh, we should play farming. I don't understand why he wants to play farming when we live it, but once we should play farming. It's like, hey, buddy, when it rains, well, all day.
Yeah.
We'll be in here all day when it rains. It never rained.
No.
Then the odd day we had a few spits or whatever. I mean, we spent a lot of time, getting things dried out.
Yeah.
So it still wasn't, it wasn't like we had a 2-3 day soaker. Plus all summer we never had that either. So it was just, it was outside and everything inside on our place, and all the arch ribs and all the sheds and all the lean-tos. It's just a disaster. And it's like you say, from one project to the next. And I mean, maybe we should have been a little more diligent in finishing the project, putting the tools away, taking the tools back out, starting the next project. Instead, we just went from, and then, it was.
So, well, that's what
very
I find is if
overwhelming.
you don't finish something properly, it's very, very hard to start something else properly. You're almost starting with a handicap because you're tripping over shit. Right?
Mm-hmm. Well, you rarely need all the same tools. So if you haven't even put them away yet, now you have that times more
That's right.
that you haven't done.
Yeah.
Not to mention looking for stuff. I mean, another sin that I did to myself. That old Cockshut tractor, it had caught fire, of all things. So the few wires it has melted them all.
Oh.
But I finally got it started again.
You can just cut them out anyways, right?
Well, I'm in the process of rewiring, but it's
You don't need any gauges.
still sitting in the shed. And I thought, this is actually a good project because it did have a loader on it, and that was my third backup, right? I had my 4440 tractor with the loader, then my backhoe, then that tractor. Now I got my telehandler, then the 4440, then the backhoe. So now it's right off the list of what I need for a backup. So it's in the shop. And I was thinking the other day,
It's like Plan D.
I shouldn't have put that in there because it's all ripped apart. There's wires everywhere,
and you don't need it.
and it's just taking up space in the shop. Can't get nothing in there.
Yeah.
So the rest of the stuff that I'm using, like my mill and the tractors and stuff, I can't even put them in the heated shop because this old piece of junk that I don't even plan to use this winter is in there,
Yeah.
ripped apart. But my thought was I'll get it in there, and on a rain day I'll get in there and I'll do it. Well, we didn't have that. We didn't have that at all.
Sure.
So it's another thing that got overwhelmed, I guess, with. It sits there and plagues me daily. But it's snowing. And that's the thing. It's snowing now, so I got my mill put in there because I got to fix my mill. So it's still not going to get done.
Now it's just tying up real estate.
Right? It's just still in the way.
Yeah.
Really, it should be. That might be a project now. I just get it going and get it driven out of there until January when it's -40.
Yeah, God forbid between now and then you actually need it, I guess. Well, into the final third, I think for me, I'm just crossing the line. Still pretty mild, but it's still quite like this cigar.
It burnt quite, or tasted the same right through for me.
Yeah, I've got lots of tobacco pieces that come out. I don't know if I did a bad cut or what, but I felt like I had Copenhagen in my teeth once in a
I
while.
haven't had that issue yet. I had the wrapper right off the bat, but I got that.
Yeah, I definitely had a curl of the wrapper. I had to spit on it and keep it intact.
What's everybody else got for overwhelmed projects that they put off all summer, waiting for a rain day or a snow day?
Yeah, what's eating your lunch out there?
This is still not working good.
Can't get to talk in here. I bet you it's the snow. I think that internet
Do you think he fleeced
theory
me good?
is nonsense. Yeah, I was actually reading a thing. Well, I don't know if I was reading it or watching. I can't remember now. But Starlink. Did you get Starlink? You know, some guys got Starlink out there. I think maybe Justin even had Starlink.
Justin did. He has it for sure. Yeah.
I was reading the thing about Elon Musk is now sticking Poland, Ukraine, and I think the United States with the bill
Oh.
because they must use it for some like the defense side of things. I don't know for whatever they use it for, weaponized internet. But of course, they're now stuck with the cost of maintaining it, right?
Okay.
Now it's floating around in space. So
That's hilarious.
yeah, so there's concerns that now if the governments don't come pay for the, to maintain this infrastructure, that suddenly everybody that's put all this money, because it's not cheap to have. Right?
No.
It's $800, I think, startup cost, and then it's even the monthly cost is it's not that much more, but it's still more, right?
It's comparable at least to our ridiculously overpriced telecommunications across North America.
That's one thing that's
certainly in Canada.
Definitely terrible in Canada. Absolutely terrible in Canada is the cost of telecommunications and then the quality of what you get.
Well,
it's absolutely awful.
When I phoned that dude, I mean, I was sitting at the table looking at the tower, and I mean, things weren't. And I was nice enough to the guy. I said, "Look, I just want to know why it doesn't work because you've baffled the Canadian government. They've pumped like billions of dollars, I believe, into rural internet.
Yeah.
And we've seen startup companies come from all over, and they're trenching in fiber optics, and they're building towers, and they're doing this, and everybody's got their hand out for this money, this federal money and stuff, and most of us are sitting here with subpar, piss poor, anything. I mean, I was talking to a guy today from Dawson Creek about some feed. And just like halfway through, bam, the thing's gone. I didn't move. I don't think he moved, and then couldn't get the conversation back. Don't know where he went.
And if he says every single tractor has something I need to fix, but keep saying I can do that in the shop when it snows. I swear it's going to snow. Well, it's coming. It's coming.
And that is the curse.
But it's a matter of when it comes and how much it comes, I guess.
We're gonna pay.
You think we're gonna pay? I don't think so. I think the bumblebee. Well, if the bumblebees are lying to me, then whatever.
They didn't build their nest very high.
The nests were really, really low this year, and that tells me we're not gonna get a lot of snow. But I think we're gonna get some real harsh temperatures through January and February, and wind like nobody's business. That's my prediction. You heard it here first. Well, I'd go up again. What's that guy? What's that weatherman's name?
Oh, Josh Clausen.
Oh, I'd fight him. I think I'm right. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, that's a given that he doesn't know, but what's yet to be determined is if Mr. Stan knows. But I think we're going to.
I guess we'll see. You start putting your faith in angry little insects, I guess.
That frost too was yesterday, or the day before on the trees, that hoarfrost. That was what.
You had hoarfrost?
Oh, it was amazing.
We never had hoarfrost.
You didn't have it?
No.
Oh, it was amazing. 2 days ago.
Like amazing, pretty.
Yeah, and just the fact that there was like so much in effectively the 1st of November.
See, that's what I'm talking about though. Is you get this really, really high humidity. We usually don't get this.
No. It's dry cold.
It's a dry cold, right? Now, hoarfrost is only supposed to happen like maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
I think it happened. It happened a lot last year too.
It was like every week we get fog rolling in all the time.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So that shift is. This is a bit of a tangent, but I the last few years I think it's undeniable to know that we're, if you want to call it climate change or you want to call it cyclical weather patterns or whatever, but we are in a shift.
Yeah, there's no denying the fact that the weather today is different than the weather it was.
But I'm young, and this is like extreme. Like this is an extreme shift in. I mean, when did I pay attention? So I've been paying attention to weather for 15 years only, and it's just amazing that this is nothing like.
Yeah, for a guy that works outside, it's fair to say you paid attention for the extent of your working career because you had to be in it, right?
That's true. But I seen on the Heist page or whatever they had they had the 15th of August in 1950, a huge snow dump.
But okay, so everybody uses those as I wouldn't say necessarily proof, or like the smoking gun is like, oh well, it's climate change isn't real, or see, it's just cyclical. We've been here before. Okay, so you had a day in 1940 when it was really really hot. So, but did you have 3 months where it was really really hot?
No, that's true.
Did you also have 3 months where it rained 3/8 of an inch, and that was it? Because I don't think a lot of those single day comparisons are really apples to apples, indicative of an entire weather season.
No, they're definitely not. Although I know the 80s were dry. My mom talks about that quite a bit.
Yeah, well, the 80s was bad. The 40s was still bad. But yeah, I don't know.
All I can say about that from like my very selfish side is I am very pro whatever's happening, because we've been growing some of the best crops we've ever grown, even despite the drought.
Yeah, see, I'm not a fan of the lack of water coming out of the sky. That to me is.
But it would seem to be enough to carry the crop on.
Well,
I know
yeah,
the hay suffered.
If you're a grain farmer, but
yeah. even with that, and when I talk to a lot of the hay guys, so back to being young and having not, I don't have 50 years of paying attention to look back on, but a lot of the hay land that people complained about 2 years ago not producing has been in hay for 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
That has never happened before.
No, it's definitely yielded lots over the years, for sure. And lots of guys haven't had to do much in the way in terms of turning it over.
And that's the thing. Like, it is a max 3-year thing in what it used to be.
Yeah.
You plow it back, you put a crop on it 1 year, you underseed it back to hay.
Rotate
you don't
back.
Just leave it. But I don't know if it was technology or new information coming out, but we ended up with what I would consider quite a bit of lazy farming, where we've just done almost nothing and expected tremendous results. And then when the weather didn't cooperate, then you got nothing.
And see, maybe I'm cynical, because we look at our west field, we plowed that under, disted it up, reseeded it, and that's been 3 years, and that field still hasn't really produced a crop, like a hay crop. Because of course we did it right before drought year, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that establishment might not have
never really got a good foothold. Wish we could have done that, and would have got lots of water, and then it would have just been like prolific. And after that, if it didn't get the support it needed, it still would have had a foundation, right?
Yeah.
Now we look at it 3 years on, and it looks like, I don't know, it looks like a 13-year-old's beard. Like, it's just patchy and gross, and you almost want to just work it up again, right?
Yeah.
I was pretty close this year to phoning a guy and just saying, like, let's just start again. And then you're always like, well, maybe we'll get a whole bunch of snow this winter, and then it'll all soak in, and then by June, and it's gonna be lush, and it's gonna be green, it's gonna be amazing. Right?
That's the thing.
It's a gamble.
We've had that the last couple of years. I've been really hard on starting out crops. Like last year was bad when it was January, when everything bared off, the ditches were running.
Yeah.
And then it froze.
Yeah.
I mean, there were lots of people said they had like 2 inches of water on their hay fields, and it froze. I mean, I don't really care what kind of plant you are. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
So
I know that even like we planted all those trees the year we got here, the ones I didn't take out with the trackhoe, like even living on a hillside, the way the things melted and then froze, like it kicked the shit out of all those trees.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it's
incredibly hard on them. Anyways, that's the weather. That's definitely something that's going to get you overwhelmed one day, stressing about the weather.
Yeah.
Not in your control, right? So what's it got to do about it?
Yeah,
I think it's almost impossible to avoid that. That's one of those limiting factors that it's almost impossible not to stress about, despite the fact that it's out of your control.
Well, and to that point, there's a lot of I don't know what we were talking about last time when I said, like, I believe there's a lot of people that shouldn't even own land. Like, I think there should be a test that you do.
Yeah, that's fair.
To figure this out, and it's like people say, "Oh, don't worry about it. You can't control it." Well, if you don't worry about it, I mean, you probably don't have even what it takes to own the land either.
Well, there's a difference.
It has to bother you.
There's a difference between not worrying about it and just straight up not giving a shit, right? Because there's focusing on the things that are within your control, and then just straight up just I don't give a fuck, right? Like,
And that's
those,
true.
Those people that can just be like, everything's just water off a duck's back, and we just take every day as it comes to us. I honestly believe those people will probably never come. They'll never come to much ever.
No, they won't make it. And if you hand them acres and things to manage, it's not going to be done. It won't be.
No, it won't be.
So because there's a huge difference between not dwelling on it and actually not caring at all.
Yeah.
So you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time on things that are out of your control, but there are things you can do to mitigate it as well.
But you do need to give it some forethought. Like, okay, I can't control the weather, but yeah, I'm sure I can do my best to try and predict and prepare for a bad season.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's especially when in regards to livestock. I mean, you need some sort of a shelter. You need these things. And if you're just one who's, well, whatever, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, I don't think that's going to work. Of course, you probably
tomorrow won't be much of a mystery, because tomorrow will be straight fucking sideways is what it'll be.
But you probably don't have to. You wouldn't spend much time on the hardly working thing either, right? Because it would just be like, well, whatever it is, what it is.
Be hardly working, and just whatever.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
If we get her, we get her. If we don't, we don't. Yeah. But there's a certain amount of work that has to be done.
Yeah. To me, the working hard, hardly working, where that like resonates with me, I guess, is, you're working really, really hard, but you're not really accomplishing anything, right? And then you beat your head against the wall because you think about all the effort, all the inputs that you're putting in, and you're not getting that result or that yield from it, right? I think about the guys that, every year they pull cows off pasture, they bring them in the fall, they send them to market, take a bath on them, and then whatever they keep back, they're feeding them all winter. I honestly don't know how some guys make it.
I don't either.
If it weren't for the love of it, the guys, they just wouldn't make it, right? Hey, look at this. We got a new viewer on XXX18 online.
Perfect.
Private dating chat girls. So we're gonna go ahead, although that is perhaps interesting to some people.
Get rid of that.
We're just going to put that user in timeout momentarily. And we'll see what happens in 5 minutes. And then if they come up with that stupid nonsense again, we're going to block them.
Get them blocked. Yeah.
I mean, everybody needs a hobby, but I mean, if you're XXX18 online,
you're in the wrong spot.
I think you're in the wrong spot.
You're definitely in the wrong spot.
No, we're two pretty straight up fellas. I don't think we need to worry about that kind of shenanigans.
This is cool. A mighty fine cigar.
Gets rid of their comments and everything. Just interesting. Yeah. No, timeout. Yeah, this is a good cigar, good whiskey. I'm definitely getting, now that I'm halfway through the second glass, I'm getting the aftertaste, but it's not oily. I don't find it's oily.
No.
There's a touch of bitterness in it, but maybe that's the cigar too. But I think I would recommend this.
It is a good
When
cigar.
we were at the Scotch tasting, this was not what we had though. We had, what was it? We had the 10, the 15.
Yeah, they had.
It was different.
What was there? 3 bottles of Jura?
I think there was, yeah.
I don't know what the other one was either though. It's neat. They often have like a year. They got the 10, the 12, the 15, the 20, but they'll throw one in there too that's like that Dalmore that's cigar malt.
Just
a
unique blend.
Right, just a different one.
Not a unique blend. It's not a blend, I should say, but a unique malt. So the notes on this one says it's matured in American white oak, ex-bourbon barrels with an aged Oloroso sherry cask finish. That's interesting because I mean, there's a hint of fruitiness there, but not like the Dalmore, not
No.
like some of the more where you really get that sherry flavor in there. I don't find it there, and even the coloration is it's quite light for an Oloroso sherry cask.
It is, and I was trying to, because they used the two words, right? They used mature and then aged. So it's matured in the bourbon barrel and then aged in the sherry.
That generally means it spent its last couple years in the sherry cask, right?
And I don't know if I mean, maybe the Dalmore and those ones have, but of course, a whole nother region, right? I mean, this is an island whiskey. Those
Yeah.
are Speyside whiskeys, I
That's true.
believe.
Which,
Are they? Yeah, they are. Or maybe they're Highland whiskeys.
well, Speyside is technically in the Highlands,
But it's its own region.
but its own sub-region. Yeah, you're right. So
And you can
usually something from the Hebrides, like Isla, is a really good example. You're going to get peat. You're not going to get sherry.
Mm-hmm. And
So
while you can almost, that's why I said earlier, it's that you can tell that this is halfway.
Yeah, like
To
there's
being
definitely
a
that's
Lefroy.
There's that. Well, I wouldn't say halfway to a Lefroy.
Well, that like tasting like an old
but there's definitely
fireplace.
there's a bit of smoke, a bit of peat there. There's just hints of it. I think back to the Scotch tasting, and that Ardbeg was like, I wasn't ready for that. Like we never bought a bottle of it, and I don't know if I would buy a bottle of it honestly, because I think you. It's one of those things where you just punish yourself to choke it down just to say you did. And
Yeah.
I think there's definitely whiskey drinkers out there that do. They just drink the foulest shit on the planet because that will put hair in your chest. But it's still not really, and like, let's be honest with each other, it's not really enjoyable.
No, and I wonder that too. Why?
I don't think they enjoy it as much as they enjoy the prestige of being able to stomach it.
That's true, but back to these guys' reviews. I mean, somebody thought this tastes like an old oily ashtray, and I mean, your palate is.
Well, yeah, palates
Your
are pretty
palate's
diverse. I know.
I know.
That's true. Everybody's taste buds are different.
I always give a chuckle. I watched that Master Chef. Is that the one in the States with those three, Gordon Ramsay and the big guy and that other Italian guy? Anyways,
I don't watch enough TV to know, but sure,
The,
that sounds about right.
it always made me laugh when they're just like running down these meals, and I will never forget this. It was the red team and the blue team or whatever, and they had to cook for these chefs' mom, like Gordon Ramsay's mom or whatever. And
Oh yeah.
And he asked the one team leader, he said, "Why do you think you lost?" And he said, what I thought was the most intelligent answer you could ever give. He said, "Difference of palate."
Yeah.
And they just undressed that poor son of a bitch. Like, you got to take responsibility. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. And I thought, like, I don't know, man. Like, that team, those are like world-class chefs, and those are also world-class chefs. So they probably were both good. And you probably lost out over, they just thought that was better.
Yeah, 100%.
But yet, like, it couldn't be. And I laughed because I was thinking, like, I'm pretty sure a lot of the shit that he puts out, I would be like indifferent to. Like, it's not like $86 a plate. I'll just go get a sirloin. I'm good, thanks. Some salt and pepper. It's just as good.
That's right.
Because I don't have a refined palate when it comes to
well, and I
fancy
I
dishes.
don't have a refined palate. I know that. Like, well, some people say that I'm a picky eater, right? Because I don't like tomatoes, I don't like peppers, I don't like onions. So if you were to go to a fancy restaurant, there's a lot of shit that just immediately is like, no, I don't need your tomato paste reduction. I don't need your caramelized onions. I don't need your red pepper jellies.
$16 an ounce, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends what it is, but
yeah, well,
even like what is that? Like, what is that beef that they massage every Wagyu
beef? Yeah,
they give them like back rubs and like pedicures and stuff every day, and what a waste of.
Just feed them olives. I think they eat like a ton of olives or something.
Just obese cows just getting massaged. That's animal cruelty. I don't care who you are.
Nothing but fat. I don't know what's they're
equivalent to a like a diabetic 7-year-old is really what they are, like stuffed full of candy bars. Oh wow. Nothing else out of Triple X 18 online. That's good.
Nothing else.
You can shut that nonsense down. Curtis is going to put $20 on me versus Josh because I got the reach. I don't know. Who is that? Josh? He's a big guy.
I don't know. What the hell was the station he was even on?
CFRN, the Edmonton one.
It was, but because I only watched, well, like we canceled everything. So we got Global and CTV. I can't remember which news one he was from, but I remember when he said, people say it's not predictable. I think it is. And I thought, like, you're wrong all the time. Like, what a foolish claim to make. Like,
it's like Men in Glass Houses, right?
Have you no humility where you can be like, I don't even know, man, you got it wrong.
Well, you got to wonder, like, does the guy that presents the weather actually predict the weather?
I think they are. They're meteorologists. They're looking at their
meteorologist. But is he just like?
No, he's not.
He's not just going on the Weather Network and going to Environment Canada and be like, this is what they told me on the internet.
It's possible they are, but I hope not, because I think they make a tremendous salary.
Because you could literally do that. You could literally be, just Google what Environment Canada says. You can make a whole TikTok on that every day. Environment Canada predicting this, and then just present it.
You could.
And whatever. If you're wrong, you wouldn't be any worse off than any of those jackasses.
I think that they have their own radar, like whatever.
The Doppler.
It's slightly different than what. I mean, they're probably all sharing the same shit. Who are we kidding?
Sure,
but
pools resources.
So I don't know what kind of extra training they have to be able to read it, because you can pull up the radar on the Weather Network too.
Well, you pull it up and it's green. Okay, well that's light rain, and then it gets to blue. Well, that's heavy rain, and if it gets to yellow, well, it's like chance of rain kind of thing. Like you can look at isobars and you can say, okay, well there's a high pressure system and there's a low pressure system, and if you're in between, it's going to get really, really windy. And I don't know. I spent a lot of time studying the weather when I lived in the UK, because I would get up at 3:30 in the morning and I'd have to bike to work. 7.5 miles. I'd bike to the farm to go milk these cows. So I was always a close student of the weather. So that's why I really don't have a lot of time for these TV meteorologists that they screw it up all the time. The data's all there. Like you're just not interpreting it correctly.
I couldn't imagine. Well, I had seen one thing where they said that the climate change was having such a crazy effect on it that being able to predict now wasn't possible. I mean, they can't predict. And that's why I don't understand. And we talked about this quite a bit. Like, why have a 14-day forecast that you change every day?
Well, the 14-day forecast, I mean, they'll tell you right to your face. Anybody that's worth their salt will tell you they can't predict more than 2 days now.
Yeah, and I wonder.
Beyond that, they're using seasonal averages. They're looking at where we are now versus seasonal average, and they literally are making a prediction. It's a guess. It's a best guess based upon historical data.
But I don't even give them 72 hours now.
No. Well, I mean, look at today. Even the weather said, today you should have 8 inches by supper time.
That's true.
We didn't even get snow before supper time.
Well, it was this summer we shut everything down, and 100% chance of rain, 100%, and it was a lot. It was like 25 mils or something. Yeah. So what day is a good day? We'll pick up flooring, go pick up some tile, go pick out sunshine all day.
Should have stayed in the tractor.
Like, it was amazing. Yeah. It didn't even spit 10 drops. So that was a goof up, and that was a 24-hour prediction.
Yeah.
So, but the 14-day, that confuses me. Why spend the time? Why spend the time, develop the app and everything, and put this out there? 14 days worth of weather that you change hourly or daily.
Easy, because how many thousands of people are on there watching advertising at the same time?
I guess so.
Unbeknownst to them. Subliminal messaging.
I liked it better when you had to call in. Whatever it was, 539-4420 or something.
Remember it was on the two-way radio?
Oh, I don't remember that. Well, we never even had a two-way radio.
Channel 4, I think it was Channel 41 on two-way radio. You tune into the weather.
Was that was your Pat radio?
Yeah,
we didn't
give you all the radio, give you all the weather from all over North America.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I never. A weather band, I think they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in the something.
Yeah. I don't even know if they still do that.
They probably don't. They have no clue.
Probably not. Yeah.
It's not worth the time. I got to get rid of the band here, but my band is tight.
I had to pull. I pulled the band. Yeah.
There we go. It just got warm enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Warm enough to release the glues and whatever. And
I have to figure out. I'm saving all these bands in the old Pelican case there.
oh boy,
Any of the nice ones.
this is a cool one.
This is a cool one. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a little more modern. It doesn't have the history to it. It's just a gangster.
Yeah. I mean, it's colorful. It's interesting. It's not quite as artistically detailed.
No, it's not. That's the word I was looking for. It's not nearly as artistic as some of them.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Kid said he's been lied to by the weatherman as well. He's wrecked a lot of hay. Oh my goodness, haven't we all? Even this summer, for as little rain as we got, I remember cutting and like it's literally hitting the windshield and like, what the hell? Like we're not supposed to get anything.
That's the big joke.
You can just see it just coming in waves, and you're just like, oh man, I don't want to have to drag the rake out. The shit's gonna turn black.
That's the big joke. I made
Yeah.
a TikTok about it to everybody who started cutting hay today. Thanks for the rain.
Yeah.
That's a given. That's a given. Well, that even happened that day. We were going to move some barley. We had to move our last year's barley, get it all consolidated, clean up the bin bottoms. Beautiful day. It was around the time we went to town.
Yeah.
And I made a TikTok too. That rain come in so hard that by the time I got the grain truck down to the shed, and I drove it in as fast as I could, I didn't see that the combine door was up. So I ripped the fucking door right off the grain truck, caught on the mirror there. That's how my life goes. That's why I don't make a list. Because then I had to fix the door. So you took the whole next day. So my whole list was no good.
Oh,
But
man.
everything was ruined, and there was no rain in the forecast. It rained so hard. That was that TikTok I made when you could see
Sure.
the squall coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen rain that hard before, but those are like, I was totally drenched from head to toe. You could wring my blue jeans and everything out. Like I must have had 3 or 4 gallons of water on my clothes, and that was the time it took me to get in the truck
Just a walking sponge.
and then drive into the shed and rip the door off.
Yeah.
Bad day. Which was nothing. Well, I'll leave the door up because I got to fix that, and it's inside now. So when it rains, I can fix it. Leave the door up.
I'll see if you would have had a list.
And we've had a list, but I probably did it. But it's probably on my list to fix this. And then when it went up, I thought, oh no, I got to do the grain today.
Still would have gone to all the hell. Eh?
It's truly amazing. I gotta hand it to people. Like I mean, there's huge farms, like huge farms, thousands, tens of thousands of acres.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how they keep that rolling infrastructure going. I mean, you hear the odd story. Oh, they forgot one field. They didn't even combine it. They forgot it.
Yeah. I don't know how you forget a field.
Well, when you have 100 fields,
I guess, but you.
like who's
By
managing
the
all that?
time you have 100 fields, you better have an inventory system. You better have a list at that point.
Jesus, we forgot our sunflowers when they're in the fucking yard.
Wall chart or something.
Well, I mean, they do have a wall chart. It's a county map. You forget even what you own, what you rent.
When you own a whole township, I guess, right? But what's the deal with sunflowers? Are they good? They're all dried up and ready to go, or
Yeah, they're ready to go.
yeah?
It was a wreck too.
Why was that a wreck?
Well, sunflowers are dry at about 9% moisture.
I don't remember seeing a wreck on your YouTube channel.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Was it?
I made a whole YouTube video about trying to dry them.
Oh,
So
I
our
missed that one.
batch
I'll have to
dryer
watch it.
holds 500 bushels. Now I don't
Yeah.
know how many bushels of sunflowers it would
because
hold,
they're bigger and fluffier.
right? Anyways, I ended up with 4,700 pounds of sunflowers that I somehow had to dry. Took them off like 35% moisture. Could barely even thrash them. So 4,700 pounds of sunflowers in a 500 bushel batch dryer is about this far up the wall.
Huh.
And there's that inverted cone inside, and if that inverted cone isn't covered, all the heat just goes up and out.
Yeah.
Plus, when it's 35% moisture, it will not flow into the auger to go back up and recirculate. It won't happen. So I put my 4,700 pounds in there, turned the heat on to like 200 degrees, which is like way too hot for anything. Burnt 6% of a 1,000 gallon propane tank.
They're making popcorn with sunflowers.
And then every 20 minutes, I had to unload the dryer.
Yeah.
Because only a tiny bit was circulating of the 4,700 pounds, which is not very much to start with. Unload it back into the truck, then unload it back into the dryer. And then like 7 times to get
Just keep
4,700 pounds. And I don't know what 6% of a 1,000 gallon propane tank is in value, but I can tell you for the 7 or 8 loads we dried this year, 7 whole loads were dried with 6% of propane. And that last load was also dried with 6% of propane. So it was probably not a very profitable venture, but yet again,
would you do it again?
Oh yeah, I'm going to do like 40 acres next year.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't even know why, because I went up there the other day and they say, well, just I even asked a couple sunflower growers and they said, well, just combine them in December or January after it freezes.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that might work for you.
What if you get 2 feet of snow?
But up here, most likely they're going to be under 2 feet of snow by December, January, and it's going to be like minus 30, so I'm not going to be able to start my equipment anyways.
Yeah.
So when these guys say, oh, wait till it freezes, they live in a more moderate climate.
Yeah.
So they can still, they're talking about like 29 degrees Fahrenheit. And they'll go out and
combine that's just a tickle on the ears is all that is.
Right? So it doesn't work. Although that guy from Grand Prairie.
But I mean, okay, well, if you went out and combine like day after tomorrow kind of thing, that's what you'd be there, right?
You would, but I went up there. I was up there, well, last night actually when I was loading those oats for the neighbor, and I went out and I grabbed some of the heads that I that fell over when I was combining it, and they're still. You can still squish the water out of them. So.
Really, right?
You wouldn't have benefited. It's not. I think you have to freeze to like minus 20 or whatever, and then you'd be able to get them in because they're not going to be dry or they're just be frozen.
You freeze dry them.
Yeah. So then you throw them in the dryer, and at least they'll be hard enough to flow around.
Yeah.
But it was a learning. I got to see them first. See them first. See them heavier.
I got to get a couple of bags of them too and run them through the old test subjects there. See how the chickens like them.
Yeah, I made a couple of bags.
That's pretty important for the chickens. To get that oil content, high protein content.
Someone told me they're only like 16% protein.
Yeah, they're not super high.
I didn't know that. I thought they were like over 20.
Super high,
but I made some goat feed for somebody, and I put some. One lady, she didn't want any canola in her chicken feed, so we substituted that for sunflowers.
The only thing with like chickens, you can't really have more than it's like 5%. It's very similar to canola in that you can't have a ton in there, right?
Yeah, when I do the canola, it's 10%. So
because they're still in the seeds, right? They're still in the
No, I run everything through the hammers.
Oh,
through the
they
hammer
do?
mill. Same with the canola.
I was gonna say because if you're just getting them unshelled, they can eat them, but they can get sour crop. They can or an impacted crop.
Okay.
And then
No, I found with the
junction there, right? So.
Like a small seed like canola, that's a very hard seed, and you need a pretty impressive, chicken to be able to grind that oil out of that seed.
Well, you can do it if you're feeding good. If you're feeding good grit. I mean, they don't chew it, right? It all happens in their crop.
Yeah, but if they're not like tough breed chickens, they can even handle whole grain.
Sure. Yeah.
Lots of guys order just whole grain.
Yeah.
And then you get as you get into stranger breeds or even maybe chickens that have just been had a lot of grit their whole life, their crop is not strong enough. So to do this.
Well, they can handle it, but I mean the productivity and the feed. What do they call that? Something ratio, feed to whatever ratio is really impacted by that. Right?
Okay.
It's like it's like as a human, if you're just eating a whole bunch of fiber, you might get a shit 3 times a day, but you're not getting anything out of it. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot that's passing through, right? Grinding the feed makes it more digestible.
Well, that's why for sure with the canola, we put that through our smallest screen and we basically smash the oil out of it. So it's.
Oh, looks like Jeremy's on. I was hoping to be here a long time ago, but I was getting a new propane tank and regulators hooked to his house.
Oh boy. You want to get that ready because the
Getting
winter's
off.
coming.
Getting off the grid. Maybe you already had propane. I'm not sure, but a new propane tank. So I've seen some guys switching propane vendors because they weren't getting the service at
Oh yes.
their other vendor, right?
Yeah, I think that's another thing where you just buy your own tanks and then you call whoever will
Yeah,
come. I guess.
sometimes it's really tight. You're like pulling teeth. Maybe 3-4 weeks trying to get a propane truck to come in and fill you up, right? Can't do that when it's wintertime. So
No, and with I mean, who knows with supply issues and things. That's just apparently, I guess out east they are running out of diesel. I heard.
is that right?
I didn't think that would be possible in North America, but
Yeah.
really shows the misplaced resources, where you have such a resource-rich part of the world, and a developed part of the world where we have access to the labor force to build it, the material to build it, and we just look like a bunch of fools.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just total. No matter how you slice it, we have all this resource and it just sits there idle because we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. Shame.
Unless we export it
Shame.
and try to buy it back.
Yeah.
And then we're short of everything.
We ship it over there, and they literally just turn it around and sell it back to us. Yeah.
But yeah, run out of gas in Alberta, diesel. I mean, we're not there yet, but I don't believe we'll get there. But I mean,
no, but even like the price of fuel, like look at the price of fuel has been doing here recently, like because I fuel up every couple days generally because I've got that stupid 90-liter tank in that GMC, right?
Oh yeah, that's
thanks GM. Especially when you're running an oil change a month on the truck, right? So it's been fluctuating from like $1.90 to $1.70 to $1.50 to $1.90 to $1.70 to like I don't want to age myself here, but I remember it used to go up in decimal points, not like 20-30 cents at a time. Like that's crazy. Like what's driving that? Is that OPEC?
Grain was a very similar thing. I had someone phone me the other day. I need a load of oats. What's your price? I said, man, I don't even know until you actually commit to buying it.
Yeah.
Then I'll give you a price.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I said oats went up 53 cents yesterday.
It's a commodity, and it's just like
it's amazing. Oats like used to be $2.75 was a good price, and 6 months later it might be $2.80.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's like. I mean, last winter it was $10. Then it went down to $3.
Wow.
Then it went up to $4. Then to $4.50. If you phone brokers, you can get $5.50 picked up. Totally amazing.
Yeah.
Grain now fluctuates, a buck or two a week, whereas it used to fluctuate, like you say, by decimal points, 10 cents over 3 months.
Well, and that should be a wake-up call. That really is indicative of the supply and demand piece of it, right? If we had an abundance of it, if we just had pools and pools and pools of grain just sitting in bins somewhere, the price would be very consistent because we would control it as an economic driver. We would be controlling the flow of that grain in and out of those bins and maintaining a very consistent price. Economically, that would make sense. It's the shortage and the demand that's causing it to do this, right? Plus inflation, of course, is like. That's not helping either. But
no, it's something else. I mean, and you phone from buyer to buyer. Oh, I'll give you $9, and you phone. Then the next guy, oh, we're at $9.75. Same day.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's something else.
Jeremy said they denied filling his old propane tank 2 weeks ago. Maybe it was due for a hydro test, or maybe it was just 30 years old.
Take a hammer and give her a good whack on the end, and just see. I laughed at guys in the States when we took that drilling rig down there. Of course, it was new, but after about 4 wells, one of the old hands that was roughnecking, he was from there.
Yeah,
he was walking around with a hammer, hitting all the fluid keys.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing? He said, "You guys don't do this in Canada?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, down here, that's what we do."
For what?
Well, because they're washed out. Because they take in Oklahoma, they took the shaper screens off after the surface. So you just drill them. You just effectively sandblasting.
Sure. Yeah.
And so at the end of every hole, when they fire up to do surface, they some poor soul gets to go around and whack everything with a hammer and see if it comes apart.
I watched a guy, this is years ago now, but I watched a guy, he's pressure testing the line. And of course, he's got a leak in a hammer unit, so he puts one foot on either side of that thing, and he comes down with an 8-pound sledge, and he hit that hammer unit, and that thing blew apart. And it literally tore the coveralls off that man. Like, he wasn't hurt or nothing, but it literally took a pair of 48 talls and just like fucking ripped them right off him. I'll never forget. He's just standing there in his sweatpants and his fucking white beater. Like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah, I don't know. He'd have to have some pretty big balls to do that willingly.
Like a friggin' grenade, eh?
Wild, yeah. What do we got here? Yeah, he's always had propane for his furnace. We burn a lot of wood otherwise. Yeah, that's one thing I really wish we would have got the wood stove put in our house, because I know we burn a lot of wood for sure. And there's still a cost to wood, even though it's technically free if you just go get it, or even if you go harvest it from the bush and you're paying a $5 or $10 permit, there's still a cost to your time.
You need a permit to cut down a tree?
You technically do, actually.
And
you can buy, or you buy a permit. I think it's $5 or $10, and it allows you to buy, not buy, but harvest like a cord of wood or something like that, or a cord and a half, I think it is in Alberta.
Oh, wow.
And you can get one permit per member of your household.
Oh.
So, but I mean, lots of people, they just go and cut it out.
I'll be fucked if I'm
Not
giving
gonna go
anybody
pay
$5 for a cord of wood.
For a tree that was probably already laying down in the bush anyways, right? But
and that's just it. I mean, I'm a conservationist. When I took my the gut piles of those forest steers we had butchered last week, took them out back. I thought, oh, there's a little pass. I'm just going to drive up here, clear the fallen trees down, the poplars.
Yeah,
it was a big old spruce tree that fell over. So wrapped the chain around it, dug it out, took the limbs off, cut it up, split it up, got a whole one of your hay feeder totes right full. Nice split spruce.
Yeah,
probably fell down 2 years ago. Dried perfectly, cut the rotten part off the bottom. There we go. So I don't see why I need to pay.
Well, if it's on your own land, you don't have to, right? It's if it's crown land. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, if it's your own tree, then whatever. But it's, lots of folks who go up to Spring Lake or down south, like down to Elmhurst, to go down to the Cali or whatever, and they'll harvest trees out there, right?
Oh, okay.
Technically, you're supposed to pay the man, right?
Interesting.
Everybody wants a piece of the pie. Right?
They do, yeah.
They do. I don't know if you'd ever get a fine. I don't know if anybody really check or enforce that kind
I'm
of thing.
Surprised I wouldn't be surprised if there's some high on a horse.
More and more. I mean, we noticed it big time last year. I know we're going to feel it again this year, especially if we have a harsh winter. But I mean, there were some months between the house and the shop here, we were $1,000 in their natural gas bill.
Oh yeah.
And I initially I was like, okay, well, there was real struggles with the propane supply chain. And I was like, man, I don't want to get into that, and I want to be able to just turn the stove on and there's just gas there.
Yep.
So the convenience side kind of made me a bit of a slave. But at the same time, I really wish we would have got the wood stove, because that would have been economically. It was going to cost us $3,000 a year more in insurance to insure our home because of the wood stove, which was a lot. But hell, you pay for that in not buying natural gas.
I don't. I'll have to ask the wife what. I know. I doubt it was that. She said it was something like it went up 10% or something.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot for us. I don't know why, but.
And that's something we've heard a lot of. Oh, if you have this,
I even tried to play that. Don't worry, darling. Like, I'm a volunteer fireman. Like, I can put this up, but that didn't fly.
Probably differs to insurance companies as well.
Well, that for sure is a thing, right? So.
But I know ours is. I was in the basement there the other day, and they got all the tile laid out there for the code. No stove yet, but.
How is the house coming? Is it?
Countertops are being done.
On target?
I figured 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, they always said it would be middle of November.
So what's the plan there? Are you gonna help move the couch, or
No, I don't think so.
no? You're just gonna get a new couch.
Oh yeah, no, it's all new furniture. We don't have anything to move in there.
Huh.
So everything that's in the trailer stays in the trailer.
So that's a strange thing. Okay. So what's gonna happen then? What's gonna happen with? I know this is pretty personal, but I always found it's interesting that a couple years ago, maybe more than a couple years ago. That's about 4 or 5 years ago. Kind of a side hobby of mine was I would go around the county and I would photograph old homesteads in the Peace Country because I thought it was really interesting to be like 50 or 60 years ago, there was like a living, breathing family here in this home. And then one day they just weren't. They just walked away. There's furniture in the house. There's literally food in the cupboard, like dry, like Jello and canned food and stuff in the cupboards in some cases. There's clothes hanging up in the closets, and I always thought that's the strangest thing. But maybe that's all they did is they just like fuck it, we're building a new house, we're just starting again, and I don't need any of this old shit. Like that's so last year. I don't know.
I suppose I asked my dad actually that same thing, and like he said, well, because he used to, I mean, he's turned 70 in September. We was born a few miles further west of the farm that he bought later on in life, and so he said there was someone lived on every quarter.
Yeah.
And like he said, a lot of it was you just couldn't make a living. Like he said,
Yeah.
you can't imagine what it looked like. I mean, he knows because it wasn't even settled. Like his grandpa homestead or his dad homestead.
Yeah.
He said it was fuck people. I mean, as soon as there was jobs in the interior logging, they just fucking packed her up and moved. Like you couldn't grow a crop on. They cleared what they thought was the best land. He said some people that came from Europe had an agronomic background and they kind of knew, oh, look at these trees, look at those trees, and this will be the best land. And then, but whoever come late, fuck, they ended up with just some rock pile or whatever. And they tried to grub out a living, and it just, I mean, they got further in debt from machinery or whatever, and then they just walked away.
Yeah,
went south.
Yeah, I don't know. It's eerie to look because there's so many of them, especially up here, right? There's so many of those.
There is,
right?
Yeah, I mean,
of course, they're not in every quarter anymore, but they're. You really don't have to go very far. I mean, I can think of just locally around the Beaver Lodge area. There's probably easily 4 dozen.
Oh yeah,
that I could just immediately recall where they are, and yeah, quite literally clothes hanging in the closet, and photos strewn around on the floor. Like one day they just like abducted by aliens, or like what happened to these folks, right?
Well, and for like for the trailer, like that was like it was there. Like the old bachelors lived there, and when one passed away, the other moved to town. My brother, he stayed there for a while. Then it was gutted. There was nothing in it. Then I stayed there, so I bought couches and everything else for it. It's nice to have when everybody lives in town. It's nice to have a place to go and have a meal, have a stove and stuff, right? So it stayed furnished. Then when we moved to town, the house I bought in town, I bought furnished. So I didn't take anything out of the trailer. And when I sold my house in town, I sold it furnished. So I didn't take anything out of it. With the exception of, like whatever, I took my bed and I took.
Sure, I mean, your intimate possessions.
Whatever else. But I mean, the kitchen table, the sofa, everything else. I even left the TV in the living room.
Oh, yeah.
It was sold furnished. And so we, and this, the stuff that's in the trailer, I mean, I bought that stuff when I was, 17, 18? So.
Be able to have an Airbnb out there.
Well, I mean, my parents live in town, and for the last few years, they just stay in their motorhome in the spring and the fall when they're helping. Now, I fully expect that they'll just stay in the trailer. Right? It's a little more comfortable than in a motorhome.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
I mean, at the point where they don't want to stay in it anymore, I guess you could sell it for $10,000. I mean, it's got wheels under it. You can put wheels under it and tow it away.
Yeah, throw it on a dolly and away you go, right?
I mean, it's actually kind of a nice enough layout as trailers go.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of trailers that, you go in and it's just got that hallway, right? It's like the bedrooms are down here, and then it's weird. It doesn't have that. There's no hallway in it. It's just a big.
Oh, really? It's just all open concept.
Yeah, there's just like a master bedroom at this end, and then open kitchen, living room, and then
living
two
room.
bedrooms at
Yeah.
the far end, really small rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just this whatever single like old 1988 trailer or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's in decent enough shape, and it's
Oh, good.
you know, if you ever had seasonal help, I guess.
Yeah.
It'd be a
Get Miguel out to help you out.
we were actually gonna move it off of there and build right where it sat, but with that came upgrading septic, came upgrading. It's like 100 feet from the line,
Yeah.
and it has to be 100. So we would have had to like move it back a little further, and so we thought, you know, we'll just leave it. It's already there. It's already power and water
Sure.
and gas and septic and everything there. So we'll just leave it. As long as we don't touch it, it stays grandfathered or whatever. We'll just move the house further back. So
I remember when we built our house, like I've had disagreements with my wife, but I've never been so angry with my wife as I was the day that we staked out the house. Because when we first moved here and we got power put in, when I plumbed power into the shop, I also run power out to where the house was going to be. And we both agreed this is where the house is going to be. And because that cable is expensive, right? So you need to know where that house is going to go. And then the following summer, when the carpenter come out to look at stuff, she's like, "Oh no, I kind of want it 30 feet further to the south." And I'm looking at that piece of cable, like I bought extra, but I was just like, "Oh man, please, please reach!" And we had a real disagreement on it. But we had to reconfigure some stuff in the basement or whatever to put the breaker box right in the northwest corner of the house. And I'm sure that electrician was in there just stretching that cable to get it in the box, because I wasn't digging it up and spending another, I think it was like $3,000 for that power.
It's
cable.
not cheap.
It's not cheap, right? So yeah, well, that's the end of that glass of whiskey. So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's not cheap.
yeah,
Amazing.
fun and games, eh? What have we been on for now? Quiet crowd tonight. 5 folks on. Been on for 2.25 hours.
Made the 2-hour mark, eh?
Yeah.
I didn't think this one was going to be a 3-hour burner. Last time we did it, our mix of cigar and scotch was the perfect mixture for a massive headache the next day.
Yeah, the Macallan. Was that a 10-year-old Macallan? No, it was a 12-year-old Macallan. Double cask.
Christ.
I regretted the next day.
That was something else.
And I think the wife even said, she's like, "How much did you have to drink?" And I said, "I only had four glasses of whiskey. Like, not like nothing extreme."
Yeah, and over 3 hours, and I mean they're not full.
Of course, you're having water with it or whatever. But I had the absolute living shit kicked out of me the next day.
Well, I texted you like, how
good.
How could we feel so?
Well, even when I went in the house,
terrible.
I was cold and I had aches and the shivers, and so I was looking it up and I'm like, well, like was I dehydrated and do I have like hypothermia caused by dehydration and alcohol, or what's going on here? By the second day, I was like, I am still not feeling good. So that combination is probably not gonna be relived.
It's a good thing we have a video log to know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, isn't that right? So, but I got to be on best behavior tonight. I can't drink 60 whiskeys. I got Finley's baptisms tomorrow, Rio Grande. So we got to be up and at her early. We're gonna get bottles into the bottle depot. And we got to stop by the church in Hythe, Catholic Church in Hythe, to pick up the baptismal font, so that we can take it to the church in Rio Grande. The church services in Rio Grande in the evening, because that's where Carmen's parents are from, right? So do it in a small church where all the whole clan was raised, right? And then so tomorrow's going to be a big day, and then Sunday, I definitely can't. I can't have a second day hangover because I think we're bringing a couple calves home for the girls to raise. So
Oh boy.
I say the girls to raise. I mean
You mean, yeah.
I mean dad to raise.
You
Right?
know what you mean.
So
Some projects for you.
yeah, but it'll be a good foray for them to especially for Charlotte, right? She's only 3, but almost 4, but
It's amazing, like
just to dip her toes into it, right? So
when we were having supper tonight, my little boy's 4, and he was explaining that he had 2 pails today because he's feeding Chippy, his little steer.
yeah,
And what they want to do and what they can do is amazing,
yeah.
absolutely amazing. It's
Yeah.
also quite interesting to watch the difference between him and his sister. Like she couldn't give a shit.
Not interested in that.
Gymnastics and ballerina and that stuff,
Yeah.
and he's like llamas and whatever.
How are the llamas? I forgot about that.
They're up there. I almost
Yeah.
petted the white one there the other day.
Yeah.
He come over and watch the butcher, which I thought was quite
Didn't get
sadistic, but-
PTSD.
No, he was right into it.
Oh yeah,
He was pretty into it. So
so
he stood there and watched the whole time.
call him Jeffrey.
I guess so. Had that stupid llama look on his face.
Yeah,
But he's pretty content around the gunshots and everything.
interesting.
Nothing else hung around, but he did.
Just a sociopath.
They say they'll put the run on predators. So
Yeah.
when we got rid of our dog, I guess we had to do something different.
Yeah, we just got another one there. The wife texted me the other day. She sent me a picture and she's like, "What do you think?" And we've been talking about it for a while. We'll getting them a pup, like an LGD pup. She was just going to surprise me. She was just going to drive out to Crooked Creek and just go get this thing and put it in the barn. And when I went out to do chores, I would just find it out
You'd
there.
be attacked.
Yeah, attacked by a 4-week-old 65-pound puppy because they're just giant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she didn't have the stomach for surprising me, so she better double check. So
Hmm.
But it worked out good. I tell you, she must be fond of me because she went out to Crooked Creek, got me a new dog, got me a box of donuts, from Crooked Creek. So
Yeah, that's a drive.
yeah, no, that's pretty good. So yeah, say things are getting pretty serious. Yeah, I'll try and keep that little fella in with the sheep, and hopefully be able to move it around pasture to pasture with the sheep, and not just have a yard whore like Ben is, because we ruined that dog probably the first day, because the wife's like, "Oh, we feel bad, we should bring him in the shop," and he was very skittish right up. I think he was like not very well treated by like his original owners, right?
Yeah.
So he's always been like, ugh, but still you try and get that out of him, but then now it's just a big softie and wants to stick around the yard, and he'll go, like if there's coyotes howling, he'll go to work, but it's like, in the time it takes him to get down to where the sheep are, there's always a risk of you lose something, right?
Yeah.
So hope to cure that with the new pup, right? So
We'll
see.
Always nice to have another critter on the
I
farm.
might just ruin a second dog too. But they eat. I don't know. They eat some crazy. Like we'll go through a $45 bag of dog food in a week.
It's amazing, eh?
Yeah, like worse than a drug habit. Those freaking dogs.
I gotta find something to get the. Gotta copy your feeder so the bird, the blue jays eating all the dog food.
Oh yeah, you need a mud flap on the
Yeah.
opening.
Well, a guy that gets feed, like he makes like fancy dog bowl dishes, eh? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a sin to hide it, right? Because it's quite a nice.
Yeah, I remember seeing that actually. You
But
posted it on your thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna have to.
Actually, it was my wife that built that. She just built a box with a lid and an opening, and put a rubber, like a little Rubbermaid tote in there, and that's what you put a scoop of dog food in. And that initially kept the wild birds out, but then it was like 2 or 3 days, and I went in, and there was like a chicken laying in the dog food bowl. I was like, oh, okay, that's not cool. So then I just I didn't have a mud flap. I just put Baylor belt in.
Yeah.
And then she put 2 pieces of mailer belt in, and that was all we needed to keep the chickens out. Worked out good. But then here this fall, she was like, we had a bunch of kittens, right? She's trying to catch these kittens, and right, like the feeder is actually not bolted, but screwed into the platform in front of the doghouse. So she's trying to catch these kittens, and she just grabbed the feeder, and she like literally ripped it off the freaking thing. So now it's just sitting there, wibbly wobbly. But I gotta screw that back on before.
Put it on the list.
Put it on the list.
Put it on the list.
Yeah. That's one thing that just won't. It'll be in the bottom of the list, but one day I'll be inspired and just go over there and drill 2 screws in it. It'll be good. But
That's one thing I realized this summer, about the list. Because, I mean, we do have, we have a vague outline of what we want to do today. And when you actually just go do something, it shocks me how, like, little time it takes, really.
well, that's the thing. I think that's
You gather all this shit up, and you got the equipment over there, and if you got some help, that's great. And then all of a sudden, like 45 minutes later, this thing that you thought was a day-long project is done.
yeah.
And you're like, well, why did I wait so long?
Yeah, there's so many of those projects that you're just like,
right?
you
Like,
put off and you put off because it's
even enjoyed doing it.
the perceived timeline is so daunting. But then when you really dive into it, you're like, oh, that was a piece of piss. Like, I mean, I took a whole week off work to put up a kick plate in the barn, and I think I had it done in 2 days. So then the wife's list came out.
The honeydew.
Yeah, oh yeah, the honeydew list come on hard after that. But then I needed a week off work after the week off work just to recover from that. But
Interesting.
wild.
Well, we didn't. Well, did we get that surge? That surge around 10 o'clock or what? Everybody's got things to do.
That's 6. We had kind of the same half a dozen people on all night here, so busy night for some folks.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Chad was out at some
He's partying.
buddy's 50th birthday party, so he's where he needs to be.
You bet.
So that's good. But
Where'd you put your cigars down, eh?
you know what? I got to that last little mouthful, and I was like, it's just not fun.
I go until the lips are burning.
Well, that's what I was noticing. It was like I'm getting like chapped lips because it's just getting dried right out.
It is,
At that
yeah.
point. So I was like, yeah. I see some guys that go in there with like corn skewers and like smoke right till it's like right there.
Got a roach clip on.
I know that's like probably $17 worth of cigar I've left there. It's probably criminal, but nevertheless.
Well, that's another one of those things, right? I mean, if you're doing it past the point where you enjoy it, then the whole thing was a waste.
That's right.
Right? As soon as you get to the point where like, yeah, I hate this, then you may as well quit.
Yeah, you don't need to punish yourself to participate in it, right? So,
No.
yeah.
Not at all.
Well, oh, Taylor hopped in there. Look at that. You literally just said that. Oh, the 10 o'clock crowd. So Taylor's coming on. Looks like Glenn's probably tapping out for the night. So better, Glenn gave you the warning today. He said you better get your sled fired up. So
You didn't even take it out last year, did you?
the sled?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did you?
Well, I didn't take it off the farm, but like it went out all around here.
Oh, okay.
But I got to get an air filter for it and let it run. Get some premium through it.
He affected me with it now. And now that I got the little kids, I was looking at the Weavers sale and I thought, hey, you know what? Stan's got one.
Well,
he hates the winter too.
I know.
So.
I hate it with a passion. I hate it with a passion.
Maybe
I saw that thing. I got lied to. Right. I got lied to. I probably paid too much money for it. I only paid I put one bid on it. I think I paid $1,900 for that Skidoo. But it's 20 years old. It's 2001. But it's a good Skidoo. Like it's good. I shouldn't say Skidoo. Skidoo's a brand, but it's a good snowmobile. But I mean, it's really meant. It's meant to go like places. Right? It's a mountain Skidoo, right? Not like a putts around the yard kind of thing, right? So I can never give it what it needs. But I read the whatever in the auction, all the stuff it's got, and it's got hand warmers. I was like, oh, well, that's pretty good. But it also said it had reverse. Doesn't have reverse. So I found that out the hard way, nose up, and then I go, what button do I push to hit reverse? And no, it doesn't have reverse. That was an optional kit that the Mountain Max had that year. I didn't have that option. Same with electric start. That was an option. I don't have that option. So the first time I yanked real hard and ripped the pull cord right out of the thing, that was really frustrating. So now I got about 6 inches too little pull cord. So
You get that real
you're
big
like
jolt every
almost
time.
you're like almost started, and then you're like, oh, and it pulls your arm back in, right? So those real cold days, you gotta just put a little splash of gas on the carb and
The joys of owning that shit.
just to get it going. But it's the best thing I ever did is I went to Princess Auto because it sat outside for the first half of the year after the snow was already gone. Best thing I ever did was go to Princess Auto and buy 3 little dollies, put it up under the track and under the skidoos, and I can move it around in the shop here. Because I wanted to get it indoors because I didn't want to, like, even though it wasn't expensive, I didn't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
Sit there in the sun, right? And to have it indoors and move it around. I did fire it up here not that long ago, and shit, it still
works.
still gives her. So yeah, excited. Charlotte's already excited. She's the minute there was like one snowflake, she's like, yeah, we can go for skidoo rides, right? And that's really because I've got no desire to go in the mountains or spend days and days and days and pour thousands of dollars into this machine. But I can pull the kids in the toboggan, or even just give them a ride on the seat. That's a lot of fun for them, right? So
yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, that's a couple $1,000s well spent. That
Yeah, as long as it all works.
build some memories. Yeah, I mean, if it's hours and hours and hours in the shop, then I'm not having so much fun, right?
But
I know some guys that spend like $20,000 on these machines, and they go up to the mountains, and then they just I don't know. They just gotta like do stupid stuff and then ruin it, and then put all this money into repairs and parts. And it's like that to me is very destructive behavior. Like I value my time too much to literally try and wreck something. Right?
I could never get around that either with that, Well, I mean, it was one live that we had. We haven't done it yet, but it's been up on the poll a couple times. Is does excess distort reality?
Yeah,
I mean that's another prime example of people want to talk about privilege. That's pretty insane to dump in tens of thousands of dollars for very, very minimal entertainment, really. Like, let's be honest. And then the infrastructure required to support that, right? You need trucks and fuel and campers and cabins and I mean, you don't want to go through life just miserable, never enjoying anything. But there's like this line of just excessive waste for a little bit of enjoyment.
Well, I remember even when we were young, Carmen and I bought a quad together when we were dating, and we go quadding with folks, and you'd see him just bury that thing through all kinds of like muskeg, and sure they'd laugh and they'd have another beer or whatever, but then one guy would roll a side by side or something. You're just like, man, that thing was like $24,000, and you just put it on its roof. Like, you talk about disregard for yourself, but also for your own time.
Yeah.
Like, how many hours did you have to work to pay for that thing? Plus, how many hours you have to work to replace it? So then that's why I just tapped out of that. We don't go like burying stuff in the muskeg anymore. Like there's just no need for it, right?
No way.
And the kids are they're a good excuse for that, right? Like, well, we're not going to do that with the kids, but really, I've got no desire to just ruin all of the investment that you put in, right?
So no, I never did either.
Yeah. Seems terribly wasteful. So you gotta have nice things. You better deserve to have them, right? So. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh well. What about 2.5?
2.5.
We
shut her down.
Have a bit of dessert and let the folks go home, or what?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well.
Well, yeah, everybody, we appreciate it as always.
For the half a dozen were able to join us. I think we peaked at like 10 for a while there, but yeah, it's a good night.
It was. It absolutely
Good-
was.
good
This
whiskey,
one, this
good
one's
cigar.
done.
I
That was
probably-
good whiskey, and that was a good. That was a good
I
cigar.
would smoke that cigar again.
That's one of the top ones here.
I would have that whiskey again too.
That is a mighty fine
Oh,
glass of
we
whiskey. Too.
really just amateur hour. Usually we get to half a bottle. But
Yeah.
we didn't.
No, well,
But that's okay too.
everybody's gotta slowly get back into this after that killer headache from the last.
Well,
time.
that's the thing, right? We're just a little gun shy. So
more water, less scotch and smoke.
more water. Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, we better let these folks get to their beds. So
You betcha. There'll be a new poll up, so whatever next week.
oh yeah, we're gonna have to
Think of something else. Let us know.
let us know in either the comments of this video or when that poll comes if there's something that's not on the poll.
Yeah,
That
throw
you
it in
wanna
the
see?
comments.
Throw
We
it in the
usually leave an
comments.
auction spot there for
like
pick your own.
other. Please add your comments. Yeah, you bet.
Because it is kind of hard to just come up with stuff. We got a few on the back burner that we haven't done.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it's
I
always
mean, the
interesting to
reader's
get-
choice is always the best ones, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome. Well, have a good night.